Seated, folks have a seat.
Just because I'm really curious, who brought the video?
I did.
Then that's not good for you, Mr. Hayes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, this is what the case is about. You're sleeping late at night, and you hear a loud noise outside. Somebody wakes you up. You look outside, and you see that Mr. Hayes has hit your parked car.
My witness saw that, yes.
And Mr. Hayes actually doesn't deny that he hit your parked car, right?
No, Your Honor.
But your defense is it was her fault.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's why I asked whose video it was. Okay, so the objective data is that on what date?
August 10th.
At approximately what time?
About 9:30.
Miss Reed's car was parked, and you hit Miss Reed's parked car, causing damage. Your defense is that Miss Reed wasn't sleeping, but was actually there.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go.
All right, so it was about August 10th.
And I want you to remember, while you're telling me this story, I want you to see what's looming at the end of this case. Because what's looming at the end of this case is a video.
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Okay. Go.
August 10th, we were moving my stuff out of the car, or out of my apartment because of our lease being done. So, and I couldn't really move anything because of an accident that I was in previously. It was a bike accident, so I couldn't move anything heavy. So they were helping me move my stuff into my car so that I could transport it to my new apartment. So as I was leaving...
You mean someone else, like this person?
Yes, this is Allah. He was helping me move my equipment. And so whenever I left and drove around the corner, that's when I saw Plaintiff Alicia Reed jump out in the middle of the road while I was driving. And I swerved off, luckily not hitting her, and hitting her car instead.
So she jumped out into the middle of the road?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
And so I parked the car, I shut off everything. She came over, made sure I was okay. I came out.
She came over to you?
Yeah, she came over to me, Your Honor, and she made sure that I was okay. And I told her I was a little shaken up just due to the fact that I just basically got in an accident. And she asked me if I was okay. She looked down, saw that I was wearing a boot, and asked me if I was okay and what happened. I explained the fact that I just got discharged from the hospital.
So you were driving your car with a boot?
Yes, Your Honor. I was.
You were driving your car with a boot?
Yes, Your Honor. I was medically cleared
Now,
from the doctor.
Not to drive a car with a boot. Warn one of those. You're not supposed to drive a car with a boot.
Your Honor, I had specific directions saying that I could drive without.
I would like to see a doctor who said that you could drive a car with one of those huge boots that doesn't come anywhere near clearing both the gas pedal and the brake in a car.
Your Honor, I wasn't using that foot to drive, so I didn't have the boot near either one of the pedals.
Okay, stand up. Tell me your name.
Megan Bloomfield.
Ms. Bloomfield, you want to tell me what you observed on the evening of August 10th?
Yeah, it was about 9:30 at night, and I was in my bed about to go to sleep. Alicia and I lived in the same building, and I lived right below her. So I heard a girl scream and a car run into something. So I got out of my bed, I looked through the blinds, and I saw that the driver had hit Alicia's car, which was him. So I called Alicia, and I was like, Alicia, you might want to go outside. Someone had just hit your car. And she...
When you called her, did you call her on her cell phone?
Yes, and she was asleep. So she was really confused. She's like, what are you talking about? And I said, someone just hit your car. You might want to go outside. And she asked me if I would go with her. So I said, yeah, of course. I'll be right there. We both walked outside. There were some people outside that had saw what happened.
Don't tell me what they saw.
Okay. Well, there were people outside, and we were talking to the girl that was in the street. She was going across the street to throw her trash away in the dumpster, and she was like, he almost hit me. And we talked to him for a little bit, and the cops came, and they couldn't do anything because it was private property. But
were you in the car with him?
No, Your Honor, I was not.
Did you see the accident?
No, I was in the apartment.
Smart answer. Now, where did we get this video from?
I went to the apartment complex the day after and asked if they had video surveillance, and they gave me the video surveillance as well as a letter from the apartment stating that
no, don't tell
it
me.
was from them. Do you
I'll
want
look
both?
at the video.
Okay, you look at the video.
Yeah.
So this is him coming around the corner before the accident, and then it goes to the scene of the crime where the girl is in the middle walking to the trash can, and then she moves to the...
Your Honor, you can't really see. That's...
You're an idiot.
Your Honor, clearly you can see that she was in the middle of the road.
No.
And I avoided her.
Just a second. I saw somebody in the middle of the road, and I saw somebody going much too fast. That's what I saw.
Your Honor, it was between 15 and 20 miles per hour. There's no speed limit.
Listen to me.
There's no bumps or anything at all.
Listen to me. If you had to swerve to avoid somebody who was in the middle of the street, you were going too fast.
They just put it on there, him going to the back parking lot because the apartment complex thought it was a hit and run, so they were just showing
my car was parked.
Would you start the video again? Just watch it. Have you seen this video before?
No, Your Honor.
Well, now watch it.
Yes, Your
Use your eyes, not your mouth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I see the estimate of the damage to your car, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have insurance, Mr. Hayes?
I did have insurance, Your Honor.
Show me that you had insurance on the day of the incident.
Your Honor,
don't waste, Mr. Hayes, don't waste my time.
Your Honor,
I want you to listen to me very carefully. It's very easy for you to get proof of insurance. We have fax machines. We have all kinds of equipment back there. I'm going to ask you one more time. Did you have liability insurance on your car on August 10th?
No, Your Honor, I did not.
That's why we're here.
Your Honor, the reason why is because of the fact that
I don't care what the reason was. You don't drive a car without insurance.
Your Honor, if you can just let me explain, I had the fact that in the accident, I had everything frozen. The doctor told me that whenever I could be driven, I could be released.
Listen to me. You don't drive a car without insurance. If you had insurance, we wouldn't be here today.
Your Honor,
don't sit. Ears. God gave you 2 of those and 1 of these for a reason. You're here today and you have all this aggravation because you drove a car without insurance. And so far, what I've heard from you is it's always somebody else's fault. I hit 3 parked cars. It was somebody else's fault. I didn't have insurance on a car that I chose to drive on August 10th. It was somebody else's fault. So what I'm telling you is if you go through life, Mr. Hayes, saying it's always somebody else's fault, you're going to look as foolish as you do today. That doesn't require an answer. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,200. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused and then step out.
He said he took full ownership of it and he was going to go to the bank and get a loan.
I'm astounded. I cannot believe the fact that she did this to me.
That fell through and then he was going to
I feel like it was not my fault whatsoever.
Pay for it, but he said he had to get a job and work for it.
And I tried to make every possible reason why I didn't need to pay for it.
I was like, good God, like what else? Like, come on.
The video, I mean, it shows it, but it doesn't show enough evidence.
I guess don't drive without
puppies. And when we were at work, Mrs. Vick came and got them from our yard.
No, just a second.
That is
just
not
answer
true,
my
Your
question.
Honor.
Would you please answer my question?
Yes.
I was under the impression from both what you wrote and what you said that you got this puppy. Now, is it a fact that you had the mother to this puppy?
Correct.
Yes, so that would be a yes. So you had the mother. The female that you owned had puppies.
Correct.
Was that a planned pregnancy?
No.
So who was the father of this litter?
It is our other neighbor that lives across the way from us.
Well, how did that happen? I mean, I'm not asking how it happened. I actually know how it happened. But
Well, while we were at work, the dog had gotten out.
which dog? Yours or theirs?
Mine. And their dog was out, and the dog had gotten pregnant.
So when you were out, the Chihuahua got out.
Correct. While I was at work.
I don't care where you were. How do you let a little tiny dog get out and run across the street? How do you let a dog get out and run across the street? How does that happen?
The dog actually digged a hole in the fence. We have a wooden fence, and she dug to get out.
Has she done that before?
No.
Did you know she was in heat?
Yes.
Or why didn't you keep her inside?
Because she was only about 8 months old, and she wasn't all the way potty trained, so I don't keep the dog inside.
Why not? It's a small dog. How much does it weigh? A Chihuahua weighs 5 pounds, 6 pounds?
She weighs 25 pounds.
Your Chihuahua weighs 25 pounds?
Yeah.
Then it's not a Chihuahua.
She's a Chihuahua.
25 pounds is not a Chihuahua. All right, so your 25-pound Chihuahua dug a hole under a fence, went across the street, got pregnant, and then came home.
Yes.
Then you had puppies. She had 3 puppies.
Correct.
Now, is it one of the puppies that you thought was sick or the 25-pound Chihuahua?
Your Honor, I have pictures of their Chihuahua. She's not 25 pounds.
May I please see it?
Yes. And, you know,
I just want to see a picture. He said, I have a picture. I said, okay, you interrupted me. I'm not curious to see a 25-pound Chihuahua.
That's another one of their animals, their dog, too. That's in front of my yard.
Well, I can't tell how big these dogs are. Is the brown one the mother?
No, the white one.
The white one?
Yes.
The very skinny one? Okay, so you saw the white one looking very skinny and just lying over. And
right.
when
I have
was
pictures
this? Give
of
me,
it.
shh.
I'm sorry.
Give me the date.
December 19th, 2015. I had previously fostered the puppies.
Now, tell me about fostering the 3 puppies.
Katie and Scotty, as I know him, Scotty, both were, and they had puppies. I fostered them from September 25th to October 30th because they had asked me to do them a favor, basically. They didn't want to keep the puppies inside the home, and the puppies were outside, and so they had asked us to foster the puppies because they couldn't care for them.
Okay. Did you do that?
Yes, we did.
Did you find homes for them?
One of the puppies stayed with me. One of the puppies they took back.
So you kept one puppy?
Yes.
So you have
puppy.
one. Shh.
Sure.
You have one puppy?
Yes.
That you still have?
Yes.
How big is that puppy?
She's tiny, maybe 3 pounds.
What kind of breed is the father of these puppies?
I think a Chihuahua mix, possibly, or I'm not sure which one's the father.
So you kept one?
I kept one. I returned one to them. And it was kind of a neighbor thing. We all kept a puppy. One of the other neighbors took the other puppy.
Did you give the other puppy away, or did they?
No, they decided who the other puppy went to.
What's the name of the other people who took the other puppy?
Oscar and Velma.
Were those the parents of the male?
Yes.
Okay, so they live across the street from you?
Correct.
Okay, so she fostered, she kept one, you kept one, and gave one to the paternal grandparents?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Fine. And that was in what month?
That was in
December.
December
of 2015.
The puppies were born September 11th.
So this is December.
So this is when they were 8 weeks old. I believe that was in November.
Okay, fine. Now, you noticed on December 19th,
yes,
the puppy that she had taken looked thin, the one that you had fostered.
Yes.
Okay, so what did you do?
So
make sure you tell me the truth.
We walked over, yes.
Make sure, Miss Vick, I get the truth, because now I understand that you're watching over these puppies because you had kept them in your house for a while.
Right.
Okay.
And we're all neighbors.
Okay, I know that you're all neighbors. That's not the issue. Reading this thing, it looked like you were, a neighbor, but a dog lover, but a little bit of a yenta. Getting involved in other people's business. However, not the case, because if they asked you to foster the puppies...
That is the truth, Your Honor.
If you fostered these puppies, they were in your home for 8 weeks.
6
or
weeks.
6 weeks. 6 weeks, then you have an attachment for them, and if you see one that's sick, you would want to take some action. Now I understand. You're setting the picture for me.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so you notice one of the puppies is sick. Now, the next part is the part that I want you to be very careful about, Miss Vick.
Okay.
What did you do when you noticed the puppy was sick?
We walked over to the house because we had seen the puppy laying on the side. We knocked on the door. We're neighbors. Scotty invited us in. Katie was not at home at that time. We came over. We're like, oh, we're so worried about Lightning. Is he doing okay? And Scotty said, well, there he is. He's dying. He has a chicken bone in his throat.
Your Honor.
But you...
Shh. Don't speak.
You can see,
Don't
you can
speak.
see him.
She says you weren't home.
But you can see him. Okay. He even introduced me as the foster parent to the puppy, to another friend.
Just a second. Are you telling me that the husband, that's him,
yes,
right, said to you, the puppy is dying because it's got a chicken bone in its throat? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Go
My
ahead.
daughter was a witness to that.
Go ahead.
She was there with me when he told me that.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So just now you can
he's
tell
dying
me,
very ill.
just a second. Now you can tell me what you did.
Okay. So I said, okay, well, maybe I can take it to the vet on Monday or something if you guys can't take it to the vet. Scotty said,
what
okay.
day of the week was this?
This was Saturday.
So you were going to wait until Monday to go to the vet?
Well, it's not my dog, Your Honor.
Okay, but you said you were going to take it to the vet.
I was giving them a chance to do the right thing.
Go ahead, and what happened?
I was very ill. I had a lower respiratory infection. On Monday, I couldn't take it. On Tuesday, my daughter and I, as I started to feel better, I had went to the hospital. We walked over on Tuesday, December 22nd. On that day, we walked over. Kendall picked the puppy up. It was laying on the side of the house again. This is not a fenced-in area. I did not go in their yard and take their dog. It was on the outside.
So you took the dog, you took the dog to the vet?
We asked the grandpa. We knocked on the door. Kendall says, Grandpa, can you take the dog inside? Grandpa Rick. He said, no, the dog can stay outside. So my little girl is crying, begging me to take this animal to the vet.
So you took the animal to the vet?
That day.
Okay. And the puppy was operated on?
Yes, Your Honor,
I'd like to see the vet bills, please.
Sure. This is
Yeah,
all
and what was
the
done?
information from the vet.
You'll have a chance. She hasn't made you a party. But I'm dying to hear from you, Mr. Morrison. Okay, now I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I never told Miss Vick to take my dog to the vet.
I didn't ask you whether you told her to take the dog to the vet. I never asked you that.
Okay.
I never asked you whether you told her to take the dog to the vet. Let me explain this to you. Neither you nor your wife asked Miss Vick to take your dog to the vet.
Correct.
That's what she said. Neither you nor your wife asked that you take the dog to the vet.
So,
What? Speaking. What do you do for a living?
I work in the oil fields, ma'am.
What does your wife do?
She's a bookkeeper, accounting.
So you both work.
Yes, ma'am.
Who else do you live with?
Our father-in-law is staying with us.
And what does he do?
He washes my babies.
So you have children.
Yes.
How old are your children, Mr. Morrison?
I have 3 boys, 8, 9, and 10, and I have a little girl that's 3 years old.
So let's concentrate on the 3-year-old. Let's say your 3-year-old is having a chicken, and a big old chicken bone gets stuck in her throat. So you can see it. You can feel it. You can see she's not eating. Can't swallow well. She starts to lose weight over a couple of days. She's only 3. And, you know, it doesn't take long for children to start losing their body weight. What do you think the state would do with your other children if you didn't take that little girl for medical treatment? What do you think they would do to the children?
They'd probably take them, but
Take them. They would take them.
Okay, but I never seen my...
Just a second. Listen to me. They would take them. And then do you know what the police would do with you?
Yeah.
They would arrest you for child endangerment. That's what they would do. They would arrest you.
Your Honor.
Now, I'm talking now. So what she said was, she came to see you and said the puppy doesn't look well. Now, whether I believe that you're callous enough and a lowlife enough to say what she says you said, because you'd have to be lower than the lowest worm to say that the puppy has a chicken bone in its throat.
I never said
and
that,
it's
ma'am.
dying. So I said to you, find that hard to believe that you actually said that. But it was brought to your attention that the puppy looked sick.
No, ma'am, it wasn't.
Oh, hey.
No.
Your Honor.
Let me tell you what the vet said.
Judge Jugy Vick claims her neighbor, Katie Morrison, owes for vet bills after she took Katie's sick puppy to the vet. Katie says she never authorized the visit.
The vet said the puppy was brought for possibly eating a chicken bone the previous week and acting painful. Upon physical examination, it was palpably and visibly apparent.
Your Honor, she...
Quiet. Palpably, I don't know if that means if you touch it. And visibly, see it with your eyes, apparent that Lightning had a foreign body in its neck.
Your Honor, she had the dog for 4 days. She took the dog...
I don't want, listen to me. I'm not listening to you.
She took the dog on the 19th, and we asked her, like, I texted her numerous times asking her if she had the dog. She said no. Then my son went over there on the 24th. On the 24th, my son went over there and seen the dog there, and we had to call the cops to get the dog back. If she had our dog and we knew about it, why wouldn't she just give us the dog back instead of us having to call the cops to make her give us the dog back?
Listen to me, Miss Morrison, I don't want you to act stupid. On what date did you find the dog missing?
On the 19th.
You found the dog missing on the 19th?
Yes, ma'am.
That is not true.
And, quiet.
Okay.
And on what date did you find out that she had the dog?
On the 23rd.
Now, on the 19th, the dog was operated on
That
on
was
the 22nd.
I'm sorry.
If you say another word, I'm going to throw you out.
Okay.
Would you like me to do that?
No.
The dog was operated on the 22nd of December.
We were not aware of that, Your Honor.
Well, now you're aware of it.
Correct.
Now you should have been aware of it. You were entrusted with an innocent... mouth. You were entrusted with an animal that had eaten a chicken bone that was visible, you could see it with your eyes, and touch it. And if you're too busy, and your husband is too busy, and grandpa's too busy, then what you do is you don't get 2 dogs One dog you didn't take care of, dug a hole under a fence, a 25-pound Chihuahua, and went and got pregnant next door, and then came back and you had puppies that you couldn't take care of.
Your Honor.
That you couldn't take care of.
Yes.
So you let her take care of them after they were weaned or before for 6 weeks.
We never agreed to let her take care of the puppies.
Oh,
That is not true.
oh, don't believe a word of that. I don't believe one word of that.
Judge Judy neighbor Katie Morrison owes for vet bills.
Now, there's only really one issue for me to decide, and that is, did you have a contractual relationship? Put the pictures down.
Okay.
Did you have a contractual relationship with Miss Vick to pay her back contractually? Don't say no. I'm the judge. I'm the educated one legally and otherwise. A contract to pay her back. And the answer is clearly...
She didn't GoFundMe account.
I'm speaking. Clearly, the answer is no. You did not have a contract to pay her back for the expense, $557, to have surgery on the dog to take out this chicken bone, which would have resulted in the puppy's death if she didn't intervene. The question is, having come upon a situation that she viewed correctly as dire, that the puppy, according to the vet, would have died had there not been surgical intervention, are you responsible as the owner of this puppy to pay her back for the vet bills? That's the only question. Contractually, you had no contract.
Your Honor, she did a GoFundMe account, so I believe that she already got all the money back for the account.
Just a second. How much money did you put into the GoFundMe account?
None.
Good. $557. Judgment for the plaintiff. If you can't manage to take care of all the children that you have in the house and the one dog that you had, because you were irresponsible with the one dog that you had.
She took the dog without our permission.
You were irresponsible with the one dog that you had, because that's how you got puppies. So you were irresponsible, not smart enough, A, to have the dog spayed. That's one thing. So you weren't smart enough to have the dog spayed. Then you knew the dog was in heat, so what did you do? You let the dog stay outside when it did what dogs in heat do. It dug under a fence to get to a mate. You know, that takes brains. If you were absent on that day, I'm sorry. 2 dogs you don't need. You got a whole mess of kids, and you each work, and you have grandpa taking care of the kids, and you have one dog that you didn't take care of. You didn't need 2. And if somebody else had to intervene to take care of your responsibility, as far as I'm concerned, it's no different from... I'm speaking. It's no different from your neighbor seeing your child falling off a skateboard with an arm that's broken and a bone sticking out. I'm almost done with you.
Okay.
Taking your child and taking the child to an emergency room and then suing you for the emergency bill. You're the parent. I don't actually see a difference as a pet lover. It's no different if your 9-year-old son fell, broke an arm, and you weren't home, and you were out to lunch, and Grandpa was snoozing upstairs. If Miss Vick took your son to the emergency room, she used her credit card to pay the bill and then came home and said, you owe me $557. I took care of your responsibility. That's what she did. She took care of your responsibility. Judgment for the plaintiff, 557. We're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Morally, I did what was right. I took the pet to get the medical attention it needed.
She had the dog for 4 days. How do we know the dog didn't choke while it was at her house?
I feel that they were neglectful and that they did not care about this animal. They were going to just let it die.
She never was the foster parent. She took the dogs out of our yard without our permission.
She's obviously lying because I did foster her pets. I have pictures of me and my little girl fostering them.
Absolutely. If the dog was sick and I knew the dog was sick, I would have took the dog to the vet myself.
Because they're my neighbors, they're my daughter's friends. I don't want to call animal control on people that I actually like.
She did a GoFundMe to get money back for the money that she paid for the vet bill.
I never received any money on a GoFundMe. Zero.
Shows that all she needed left was $200. She had already raised $300.
It's still living. It's doing well. So I feel I did the right thing.
We don't get along now. Our kids can't play with her kids, so.
They're actually not.
Sad for the kids. Thank you.
I don't.
Have a seat.
Mr. Estrada, where did you meet Miss Conroy?
I met her on a dating website, Your Honor.
Which dating website?
It was an adult dating website.
And when did you meet her?
First contacted about 3 years ago, casually, just talking. And then we officially met about a year ago in February last year.
Okay, and you live where?
I currently live in San Gabriel Valley.
You had to think about that for a minute.
Well, I just moved because of this case.
From where?
From North Hollywood to West Covina.
Okay. And last year, in February, where were you living?
In Studio City.
And where was Miss Conroy living?
In Santa Barbara County, La Conchita.
Now where does she live?
I believe she's in Colorado. Don't know exactly where.
Did the two of you ever live together?
Yes.
From when to when?
From February until just recently, in February, for a year.
Just a second. So you lived together from February 2015 to February 2016?
Yes.
And where did you live until February 2016?
We lived in a couple of different places. When we first met, she moved in with me into my apartment where I had a roommate. My roommate was not happy with having a couple living there, so I got us another place to live.
Okay.
And then we moved into a studio apartment in North Hollywood where we lived together from July until February.
February what?
Of 2016.
I know February 2016, February 2nd, February 5th, February 15th.
Well, we were evicted, and I believe the eviction date was February 3rd of 2016.
Well, the eviction date may have been February 3rd, but that doesn't mean you moved out February 3rd. When did you move out?
We moved out on the 3rd, and then she stayed with me for a couple of weeks at my parents' house while we looked for a place.
A couple of weeks after February 3rd. Yes. So you stayed at your parents' house. Where is your parents' house?
West Covina.
So let's say you stayed at your parents' house a couple of weeks, 20 months, until February 24th. That would be 2 weeks. February 3rd,
no,
2 weeks?
She only stayed with me for about a week and a half before she left.
Okay, week and a half. So we're talking about
the 17th, I would say.
February 17th.
Yes, ma'am.
Until she left. And tell me under what circumstances she left.
Well, I terminated the relationship when she confessed to me that she had sold herself to one of her Uber passengers. That was in February.
While you were living at your parents' house?
Yes, actually, is what she told me.
But you had to think about that for a second.
Because I was away on business when she told me, and she had gone to my hotel to tell me in my hotel room.
She came to your hotel room where?
In San Bernardino County.
You think this is going to be easy? This is not going to be easy?
No, absolutely not.
You knew it wasn't going to be easy, right?
Yeah. It's in San Bernardino, where I was on business.
So she came to your hotel room to tell you that she had cheated on you with an Uber passenger because she's an Uber driver?
Yes, ma'am. For money. She cheated on me for money.
All right. So this is what your lawsuit is. So I'm going to handle it very, very expeditiously. You lived together as a couple, according to you, until about the 17th of February of this year. And when you say you lived together as a couple, I assume you stayed at your parents' house, sir. If I believe this whole story, you stayed at your parents' house. They gave you one room. So the two of you stayed in a room.
At
your parents' house for a week and a half?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And prior to that, when you lived in a place where you were evicted, and I assume you were evicted for?
Not paying rent.
Not paying rent. And you hadn't paid rent for a while, because they don't evict you after 30 days. They evict you after a long time. Yeah. So now you're living in an apartment with her and living as a couple, and then you go to your parents' house and you're living as a couple, right? So you're suing her for rent.
No, ma'am.
What, just a second. Money owed for unpaid rent, assault, and the cost of a computer.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're suing her for rent.
And the cost of the computer.
Just a second. Okay. Let's take the rent first.
Okay.
You're suing her for rent for...
Actually, ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's not actually for the rent. It was for money that I borrowed from a friend to pay back rent. We fell behind in rent. If you like, I can explain more.
No.
Okay.
It's for old rent. And after she didn't pay the rent, you slept together, reconciled, right? I'm not interested in the rent. So now that we've gotten rid of rent, the next thing is an assault. The assault took place on what date?
I'm not too sure of the exact date, Your Honor.
Well, if you're not sure the exact date, then Bird and I have other things to do today.
It was in October.
In October. And then you lived together in November.
Yes, ma'am.
And December. And January. And February. And canoodled. And played footsie. And kept each other nice and warm and comfy.
It's not the director, Your Honor. She lied to me a lot during this process.
I don't care. I don't care. 10 million people don't care. Bird doesn't care. It's called condonation, which means if she assaulted you and you forgave her by sleeping with her, we don't care. That's your problem. Somebody assaults me, I don't go back and canoodle. You chose to go back and canoodle, that would be your problem. Not interested. Okay? Now the next thing is your broken computer. On what date did she break your computer?
It was that day in October, Your Honor.
In October?
Yeah.
Now, after she broke your computer in October, you canoodled together October, November, December, January, February, At your parents' house. And maybe at this motel where she, whatever, I don't care. Did you bring up the computer?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
Did you bring up the computer to her?
She promised to pay back and to replace damages she did.
And she didn't. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim, which is for money owed for assault and harassment. And you say in your counterclaim that you had an argument with him, and during the course of the argument, you wanted to leave, and he didn't want you to leave. He took your keys. You struggled over a bag that he was carrying. Is this all sounding familiar to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And during that struggle, he broke your finger.
That is correct.
What month was that?
That was October.
October. And who did you live with in November? Him.
With Patrick.
And December. And who'd you celebrate New Year's Eve with?
With Patrick.
With Patrick. And you and Patrick have now been on the outs with each other for about 3 weeks, if my math is correct. Maybe 4. Is that right?
Correct.
And look, you find yourself in court, annoying me. Well, I don't want to be annoyed anymore. I assume that you're happily not together anymore?
That's correct.
Wonderful. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I cheated on him, and then I told him all these horrible things to get him to break up with me finally.
Well, after I proposed to her, she started to slowly unveil all these issues that she had.
He's upset that I broke up with him and won't get back together with him.
And when I finally realized what was going on, I put my foot down, that's when all the drama started happening.
He's been very vengeful and upset.
And then finally, when she couldn't hold on to her lies anymore, she just kind of confessed it all.
His anger and violence?
Yeah, it's absolutely 100% unfounded.
I received a black eye.
Like most people who know me know that I'm not a violent person.
From being punched in the face, a broken finger.
I've never really acted out in anger.
Pulled my hair, dragged me across the floor.
So the fact that she can say that I was a violent, angry person.
I was afraid of him.
Again, like I said.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gallegos versus Schaefer. Step forward.
Johnny Gallegos is suing his former landlord, Laurie Schaefer, for moving costs and renovation costs.
Oh, this is so interesting, Mr. Gallegos. Gallegos?
Yes,
is that
ma'am.
how you pronounce your name? Let me see if I understand your claim. In 2011, you took over the lease of someone else and signed a new lease in your name with a person whose name was?
Bill.
He owns the property.
Yes.
He owned the property. Is that person related to you?
Yes, he is.
How?
He is my father.
You signed a lease for a year. 6 months. Did you sign another lease?
No.
Ever?
No.
So that you became a month-to-month tenant.
Correct.
And that was sometime either in 2011 or early 2012.
Correct.
Month-to-month. Which means that, I don't know what the statutes are like all over where you live, but if you are a nice tenant, if you're planning on moving, you usually give notice 30 days in advance, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your last name is Schaefer?
Yes, it is.
You took over running the property in what year?
July 1st, 2015.
Was when you took over the property?
Yes.
When did you give Mr. Gallegos a 30-day notice that you wanted him to leave?
I filed a notice to quit on Mr. Gallegos on 1/23/2016 to vacate the property by February 29th, 2016.
Okay, so she gave you a 30-day notice.
Correct.
Which is her right. Just like it's your right to give her a 30-day notice when you decide to move someplace else.
Correct.
Doesn't that sound fair?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then why do you think, Mr. Gallegos, that she's responsible for your moving expenses?
I feel...
That's what you're suing here for.
Yes.
Well, explain that to me. You're suing for moving expenses and renovations that you made to the dwelling. Let's deal with moving expenses. Why would you think you're entitled to moving expenses?
I feel that Ms. Schaefer saw me doing upgrades on the apartment before she took over and intentionally asked for possession because she knew I was on a month-to-month. So she
did intentionally. She gave you a notice to quit in 30 days. Nothing could be more intentional.
Johnny Gallegos says former landlord Laurie Schaefer owes for moving and renovation costs. Laurie is countersuing for repair costs.
Go ahead.
Everybody that lives there has lived there for 15 years or plus. So all of them are long-term tenants. I was there 4 years, and she's seen me doing the upgrades, and Once they made marijuana legal in Colorado, all the rents have gone sky high. So I feel she intentionally...
She did intentionally tell you to move. Nothing I said to you, nothing could be more intentional. But that's not against the law. She's within her right to ask you to move. You don't have a lease. If you had a lease and she kicked you out, that's one thing. But you have no lease. You were a month-to-month tenant.
Correct.
What if the property value went down instead of going up? And you said, listen, I'm paying $500 a month rent. Everybody else in this whole area is paying $200 a month rent. I only want to pay $200.
Would be fair.
Thanks. My parents didn't waste their money. Now, the next thing that you are claiming, Mr. Gallegos, is that you made renovations to the dwelling that you think that Ms. Schaefer should be responsible for, right?
Correct, yes.
According to what I read, you had an arrangement with the prior person who managed the property, who was her father.
Correct.
That if you made renovations, excuse me a second. Listen, if you're a fly lover, don't bother calling me, don't bother writing. I don't read those emails. Now, you had an arrangement with her father that if you made certain improvements, he would reimburse you the expenses that you had in making those improvements.
Correct.
That was 4 years ago. When was the last time Mr. paid you for making a renovation to the dwelling?
He never paid me. He deducted from the rent.
Okay, when was the last time Mr. deducted it from the rent?
10/5/2012.
So you, I assume, presented Mr. with receipts, and he said, okay, what's your first name?
Johnny.
Okay, Johnny, I'll deduct that from your rent, right?
Correct.
When was the first time since July of 2015, when Ms. Schaefer took over running the property, that you presented her with a bill for renovations that you made?
I never did present her with the bill.
Good. Your case is dismissed. Make renovations on a property. You don't have an agreement with her. You have nothing, Mr. Gallegos. You have no case. You have no claim.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, you have a counterclaim.
Yes,
Your counterclaim is he made certain changes in the property that you didn't authorize.
Correct.
And you want him to put them back in the condition that they were in when he rented in 2011.
Correct.
You have the pictures in 2011?
I do not have the pictures from 2011.
Good. And when did he make the first renovation that you are complaining about? Put your pictures down.
I have no idea if it was after, I believe it was after I took over the property, we started to get...
Well, that I believe is not an answer.
We got questions from him as to could he do this to the property. I actually had installment of the carpet. I went over and installed the carpet.
Just a second.
On his behalf.
So, what are you complaining about?
That is not the complaint I'm making.
What's the complaint?
The complaint is he painted my cabinets white. And I wanted them to be back to the wood.
Ms. Schaefer, your case is dismissed. We're done.
Excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Lori filed a counterclaim that was pretty much bogus.
Not at all.
Because I left that whole apartment in tip-top shape. She refused to give me my deposit back. I had to go to her father to get the deposit.
We had 4 police reports, and they were called out 4 times.
Police never contacted me.
Glad he's...
Now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sansbury versus McLean. Step forward.
Douglas Sansbury is suing his former employee, 22-year-old David McLean, for crashing his work vehicle.
Mr. Sansbury, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for damage to a car that he was driving that belongs to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The defendant worked for you from when to when, sir?
November until the time of the accident.
What month?
March.
So he worked November, December, January, February. Accident happened March what?
6th.
So he worked for you for 4 months?
That's correct.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a handyman, and I do repair work for local restaurants in the town.
Okay, and what kind of work did he do for you?
He was my employee. He did whatever we needed done, moving tools, cutting down trees, landscaping.
How much was he paid on average a week?
Between $250 to $400.
And as part of the work that he was doing for you, he had the use of a car that belonged to you?
No, ma'am. I let him drive it home in the evening and back to work in the morning.
So he had the use of the car. When he was working, on what date did he have the accident?
Friday.
And he was working for you?
Correct.
You worked that week. What was the date you usually got paid, Mr. McLean?
On Fridays.
What was your last day of work?
I would say the day of the accident.
Did you get paid for that week?
No, I did not.
That's your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't pay him for that week. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You owe him for that week.
Correct.
Great. How much money do you owe him for that?
$320.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor.
How much does he owe you for that week?
$420.
You have the hours he worked?
I don't have them in front of me.
$420. The responsibility is yours to keep the records and to give them to me. Now, I'd like you to tell me about the accident that you had with the car. Were you working that day?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Go ahead.
It was my lunch break, and I had left to go to my house to pick up a tool. On my way back from the house to work, a deer was crossing the street, and I swerved to get out of the way. And as I swerved, I slid into a neighbor's yard and hit a mailbox.
And what time did you take the car on your lunch break?
It was 11 a.m.
What time did the accident occur?
Around 11:15.
Did you go back to work that afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did you get back to work that day?
Right after 11:15. After it happened, I had notified the people that I hit the mailbox.
How did you do that?
I left well, I couldn't contact them because no one was there, so I left a note on their front door and left my number and everything.
And they ultimately found out?
Yes, ma'am.
They contacted you?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you gave it to your insurance? Is
No.
that, well, who paid for the mailbox?
I did, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay for the mailbox?
$84.
So?
Well, what happened, he told me on Saturday morning when he was bringing the car back to my home that he ran off the road that morning. And when he got to my house and I saw the damage, I asked him, I said, well, go return to the scene of the crime, get the police to come write up a report so we have a documented evidence of it. At that point, they arrested him for a traffic violation, obstructing justice, for giving a false statement to a police officer. And
What kind of false statement?
he said that it happened on Saturday morning instead of happening on Friday. So when I returned back to work on Friday,
Why did you tell him it happened on Saturday morning?
I was nervous. I'm never getting in an accident.
Mr. Sansbury?
Yes, ma'am.
You should have had him covered on your insurance. He was an employee using a car. Sounds like he did everything right. He had an accident. Nobody was home. He left his number with the people. They contacted him. He paid for it. He didn't even say to you, listen, it's a company car. You should be covered on your liability insurance if your car hits a mailbox. He took care of it himself. You have no proof that he was intoxicated, that he was driving recklessly. Your responsibility. You give him a company car, you have insurance on the car. Your case is dismissed. Judgment on the counterclaim for $420 in wages. That's all.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lampton versus Trotter. Step forward.
24-year-old Alyssa Lampton is suing fellow motorist Angelica Trotter for running into her in a parking lot.
Miss Lampton, it is your claim that the defendant hit your car in a parking lot. You were backing out of a parking space.
Yes.
She was coming down the road.
Yes.
Somebody have a photograph of this parking lot?
I do have a video.
I'd like to take a look at it. Is that a video of the accident?
Yes.
Just tell me the date that it took place.
It took place July 16th of this year.
And I assume both of you have insurance?
Yes. Yes.
And had insurance at the time of the accident?
Yes, I did.
Fine. What do you think, Miss Trotter?
Fellow motorist Angelica Trotter owes for an accident in a parking lot. Angelica claims the accident was Alyssa's fault.
Now, the truth of the matter is that sort of stuff happens all the time.
Right.
Usually the car that's backing out is supposed to stop because the car that's going down the road has the right of way. But the car that's coming down the road is, since they know that cars come in and out, should also not be going too fast.
Well, I was going
Let's play it again and see how fast you were going. That's pretty fast. Anybody want to say anything? I am absolutely prepared to make a judgment. I love videos.
All I want to say is understanding that it was an accident, the car could have been covered if it was insured. Our insurance attempted to make a claim or whatever the case may be, and we got a letter here stating that on that day in question.
May I see it?
It was not insured.
May I see? So your insurance company tried.
Well, yeah, because we
tried to get the
giving
damage.
Tickets. We weren't giving tickets, so we didn't know who was at fault. But we were going to try to get the cars fixed.
Okay, so her insurance is Progressive, and they were unable to find any.
No, her insurance.
My insurance is Progressive.
That's Progressive sending us that letter stating that she wasn't insured. It said there was no coverage.
Your Honor, I have verification for my insurance.
I want to
have
see
liability insurance. I had liability insurance for my car.
This doesn't tell me that on the date of this incident, on July 16th, that your car was insured.
It says specifically when I had my insurance from April, and it ends at October 6th. When I got into the car accident, I knew I had liability insurance, which would mean that was an $1,000 deductible that I can't pay.
Well, you have to pay. The accident was partially your fault. The accident was at least 50% your fault.
I don't think it was my fault at all.
Well, I don't care what you think. I just saw it. And I'm telling you, what you have to do when you're pulling out of a spot is you pull out very, very slowly, because the car that's going down the road has the right of way. So you're supposed to pull out very, very slowly. Now, I saw how you were pulling out, and I don't know what kind of car you were driving. Some cars have those televisions so that you can see when you're pulling out. I have that in one car. I got used to using it too, by the way. But I have one where it's an old car, and you have to creep out of a parking space until you are clear.
Your Honor, and I do understand that. I was parked between two cars, and I did slowly come out. And she neither attempted to honk the horn or stop. I didn't.
Let me explain something to you. I've seen the video.
And she was also on the phone.
I've seen the video. I've seen the video.
She had a lot of tin on her window.
I'm telling
you.
Couldn't
see me.
Hey, listen.
Tennessee legal in Illinois.
I don't have to listen.
You were in Indiana.
I don't have to listen anymore. Did you have damage to your car?
Yes, I did. And we had to fix it.
And you fixed it. Did you have damage to your car?
Yes.
Did you fix it?
No.
You should. Just a second.
If I was at fault, and let's say I did see her, am I supposed to hurry up and drive back into my spot because my
yes,
and not only that, but there's pedestrians and visitors and patients that come in the parking lot.
This is a lot of if. I just saw the video, which to me is better than any statement that you could give or any statement that she can give. Do you understand? I think that this accident resulted as a result of both of you being at fault. That's comparative negligence. That's what I find. I find each of you is responsible for damage. How much damage was done to your car?
It took about $400.
Not about.
It was $400 to get it fixed.
And how much was the damage to your car?
If my deductible would have covered it, I would have been covered for over $6,441.
Just a second. But you had insurance, you said, with a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
Great.
The blue book on her car is $7,000. It cost $6,000 to get a $7,000.
Listen, I don't care. That's not what we're. Not what we're talking about.
All right.
She has the capability to fix her car if she wants to with her insurance. She said she has a $1,000 deductible. Now, do you have evidence to show me that you paid $400 to have your car fixed?
I don't have that with me.
All right. Well, if you don't have that with you, this was the time to bring it.
Yeah.
So your out-of-pocket expense is $1,000.
Yes.
Great. She's going to pay you $500. The rest you pay. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bradburn versus Allen. Step forward.
Kenneth Bradburn is suing his ex-girlfriend, Catherine Allen, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Kenneth says Catherine used the money to pay bills instead.
Miss Allen, how long do you know Mr. Bradburn?
Almost 30 years.
What's his brother's name?
Craig.
And you were dating Craig?
No, I briefly dated Ken.
Him?
Yes.
But never his brother?
No.
Okay. When you say you briefly dated Mr. Bradburn, how...
January till April.
Of this year?
Yes, this year.
So after having known him for 30 years, you thought that there may be a social interest?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Judge Judy, Catherine Allen owes for a loan to buy a car. Catherine claims the money in question was actually a gift from her sister.
Now, you were looking to purchase a car.
Yes.
When were you looking to purchase a car?
January or February.
So during the brief period of time that you say that you were dating Mr. Bradburn.
Yes.
And Mr. Bradburn's brother was selling a car.
Yes.
What kind of a car?
It was 2002 Grand Am.
How did you find out that he was selling the car?
I called Craig, told him I was looking to get a vehicle because he sells cars. So he told me how much that car would be to get.
And what did he tell you?
$864.
And you didn't have $864?
No.
So what did you do?
Well, the car got sold on me.
So, just a second. You didn't have the $864?
No.
So what did you do?
I waited, and my sister told me that she would help me.
Your sister who's sitting over here?
Yes.
Your sister who's here as a plaintiff's witness said she would help you?
Yes.
And that was in January, February?
Yeah. Yes.
So how did she help you?
She gave me $800 to put towards the vehicle.
What kind of work does your sister do?
She goes to college.
Your sister goes to college?
Yes.
That's her job?
Yes.
How old is your sister?
39.
How does she support herself?
I work. Her and I live together.
So you work and you support your sister? It's going to get worse for you instead of better. Do you understand the way this is going? It's going to get worse instead of better.
Okay.
So you and your sister live together.
Yes.
She's 39 and is a college student.
Yes.
You work and support her, and she gave you $800.
Yes. She got her.
Are you loving this? Okay. This is what the case is about. Mr. Bradburn.
Yes.
It is your claim that you loaned $800 to buy a used car from your brother.
Yes, Your Honor.
Some of it was paid back. You're suing up for $710, which is the balance on the loan. Okay.
We had actually in December.
I don't care.
Okay.
Actually, that is all what I call softening up my story a little bit.
Your Honor. Yes, I had.
I like to create certain interest. Otherwise, I'll lose my audience. Do you understand? That's why we started with her. You were dating. Your brother was selling a car. She didn't have money to buy the car.
Yep.
And pick it up from there.
I loaned her the money by actually giving the money. I gave the money to actual Beth to hold on to.
That would be her.
Yes, my witness. Okay. And I told Kathy that Beth has the money that I'm going to loan you, and the understanding of you making payments to me.
Just a second. Now you're dating, right? You're dating her. When, there's dating, and then there's dating.
Yeah.
So were you dating or dating?
Dating.
Dating?
Yeah.
Not dating?
Not dating.
Okay. How did you know that she needed the money? She must have said something to you during one of these dates.
She had mentioned to me that she didn't have the money to purchase the car. Because my brother had told me, and then I had told her, that my brother is not going to let her take the car out of the yard unless he's paid up front and full.
And you offered to loan her the money. Is that what you're telling me?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Now, you gave it to you to hold.
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. Okay. You're the college student who lives with the sister who had the $800. Look at me.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Where did you get the $800 from?
From Kenny.
From him?
Yes.
Because you don't make any money, do you?
Not at this time. No, I'm trying to better my education so I can get a good job.
You still live with your sister?
Actually, my sister lives with me. I have a 6-year-old.
She is getting cash assistance.
Yes.
She is getting cash assistance and doing volunteer work to help pay for the cash assistance, to help her out with her daughter and college.
Correct.
But your sister is still living with you.
Correct.
I wonder how you feel. Come on, talk to me.
What do you mean, how do I feel?
Well, your sister tells me that the plaintiff gave her the money to give to you.
Okay, yes. To give to me. If I borrowed money from someone, I would assume it would be put in my hand and the agreement would be between us and the money wouldn't come from someone else. Or to hold on to. She gave me the money as a gift to help me out to get a car.
Where do you all live?
In Flint, Michigan.
All of you?
Yes.
Right? And you came yesterday?
Yes.
What did your sister say to you when you left the house day before yesterday to come here to Los Angeles?
What did she say to me?
Yeah. Well, you had to have talked about this case.
Oh, we've talked about it.
And
just basically specifying that, she owes the money. She knows that possibly she owes the money because Kenny gave me the money to hold on to until she found a car.
My brother had sold the car from out under her.
Correct.
And the money was given to Bethany to hold on to. And the reason why it was given to Bethany is because I didn't want to go into her hand spending the money for something else besides a vehicle. And so when I asked Bethany back for the money like that, Kathy already spent it.
What'd you spend it on?
Bills.
Bills?
Yes.
Did you ask your sister first if you could spend it on the bills?
No.
No. Okay. Miss Allen, you know that your sister doesn't have any money?
She got, well, I assume she got her taxes
No,
done.
not assume.
Yeah.
You assume she got her taxes back? She doesn't work.
She has a child.
What does she do with the child to make money?
It's a tax write-off.
You have to have income to have a write-off.
Right, well,
you
she
think
had a
that
job,
you think that this was going to be an easy thing for you to do here?
No.
Right?
I did not.
We had 3 round-trip airfares to Michigan, and we put you up in a hotel, and we fed you. You think this is going to be easy? Not going to be easy for the 3 of you. But I think that you actually gave her money. The fact that you probably conspired amongst each other to go through this charade is another story. But I think that you actually gave her the money. Gave you back some of the money. How much?
$90.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $710. That's all. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Be seated, ladies. Have a seat, please.
Miss Leon, when did you purchase this house that you rented to the plaintiffs?
I purchased it in 2006, and I totally refurbished it in 2009.
Did you ever live there?
No.
So you purchased it as a rental property?
No.
For what?
For my daughter to live in. But it has many steps. She got pregnant, and then the market dropped, so I was forced to keep it and be able to sell it now.
When did your daughter move out?
She never lived in it.
So she never lived there?
No.
So from 2006 going forward, you've used it as a rental property?
Not until 2009.
So between 2006 and 2009, no one lived there?
That's correct.
And how much did you pay for it?
Approximately $600,000.
Is the house currently on the market to sell?
It is.
For how much?
$774.
What month did you list the house?
August 2015.
How many times have they shown the house since August?
Only a few. Okay. And there were several open houses where a couple of people showed up. I don't know the exact number.
Good. Now I have a little bit of a background. You signed a lease on the house in what month and year?
May 2014.
And the lease was going to be up in?
May 31st, 2015.
On what day did you move out?
We had started moving out weeks before.
Just give me the date that you, I don't care, started. As long as you had a toothbrush there, you were there. On what date did you move out of the house?
June 1st, but the last key was returned on June 6th.
So you stay there for the term of your lease?
Yes.
Did Miss Leon do a walkthrough with you?
She did not.
Did you take photographs of the house when you left?
No, we did not.
Did you take photographs of the house between June 1st and June 6th?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, because this whole case involves the return of your security deposit, or half of it.
Yes.
Okay, you have $4,000 security deposit?
Yes, and we got
And she returned how much to you?
$1,430.
Claiming that the rest was damages.
Damages, painting, cleaning, and pet deposit.
There was no pet deposit.
Just a second. When you moved in there in 2014, it had been previously rented. Do you know to whom?
Yes. It was 5 girls that were at Occidental College.
Okay. So this had previously been rented as a dorm house.
A college house.
A college house.
Yes.
Miss Leon, between 2009 and 2014, the house was continuously rented, according to you. Was it always rented as a college house?
It wasn't.
Was it always rented to college students, is my question.
Yes.
So it was a college student house. And based upon what you told me, you renovated the house in 2009 and not thereafter. There's no question that you didn't renovate the house thereafter. So for 5 years, the house was rented to college kids. Right. Now you want to show me what you claim they caused in damages to eat up the rest of their security deposit on a house that you put on the market to sell a month later? Don't raise your hand.
I want to first show you the...
No, don't show me. I asked you to show me pictures of
I'm
what
sorry.
damage you allege that they did to the house that caused you to retain their security deposit.
Okay, there were broken tile, there's scratches and gouges on the doors.
Okay, just a second. I see the pictures, Bird.
Okay.
Broken tiles, scratches on the door. What else?
Well, filth. I mean,
Just a second. Just a second. Now I want to see, put it down. Now I want to see your receipt for fixing these broken tiles and the scratches on the door before they moved in.
Okay, I have to look a little bit for them.
Miss Leon, first of all, let me say this to you. I'm dismissing your counterclaim. And I'm dismissing your counterclaim, which says that while you returned some of their security deposit, when you got all finished, it was really more damage that they caused to the house, so you want another $3,745 in damages.
That's right.
You're not going to get it. I have 5 children that lived in college houses. I don't know how children from relatively nice backgrounds and nice families get together and all of a sudden they live like pigs.
I wonder that too.
Into a place that I wouldn't even use the bathroom. And they live there. You chose to rent your house for 5 years, and then when the market did an upturn, you had an order to show it because the realtor said to you, we're not showing this house unless you paint it, clean it up, put everything in order, and then we'll do an open house. And you say, well, the last people I had there caused this damage. Now, unless you can show me thousands of dollars in repairs that you did between 2009 and 2014 when they rented the house, I'm not interested in you thinking that they are supposed to renovate your house to put it up for sale. That's ridiculous. So unless you can show me thousands of dollars in repairs that you did each year that you had 5 college kids living in that house, I'm not interested in your counterclaim. You have those bills?
I have one from the last one that...
I'd like to see that, Bert. Sure. Could I see that? Could I see that, Bert?
The one. I did this every year.
Then you would have bills for every year.
And I also did not charge them for the damages that were left from the other students. And there were damages, but I didn't charge them.
Just a second. A patch paint area damage in upper part of house walls, $450. 2 repairs exterior door entrance, $75. Repair damage to bedroom doors, $100. Repair sliding wood door, $75. Repair garbage disposal. Material needed to paint and spackle, $75. Total cost to get property in rental condition, $875. So at the end of a year's lease, where you were paying how much in rent?
$3,900 a month.
$4,000 a month. You spent $875 to get the place in condition to rent it to somebody else. Is that what you're telling me? And how much did you charge them, in addition to the $3,745 that you want, in addition to what you already took out of their security deposit?
I had another witness that took care of it every year, and he didn't show up. I'm sorry. But okay. I have a lot of receipts of, as soon as they moved in, they broke the garbage disposal in June.
Just a second. You can't tell me that they broke the garbage disposal. The garbage disposal broke.
It had broken glass in it. No.
The garbage disposal broke. On what date did the garbage disposal break?
6/26, and it was working when they moved in.
Show me that it was working.
I can't.
You can't. Do you understand? You're going to make a tidy profit on your house. You've had it rented for the period of 5 years. That more than paid your mortgage and more than paid whatever the upkeep was on it. Now, there's no question that you spent money to clean up after these young ladies, unless you have pictures of what the house looked like when you left.
No.
You don't? Well, this is a good lesson. You should have, because there's no question that how many girls were living in the house?
5.
5 girls living in the house. There's no question that you're no different from every other college kid that lives in a house. You have boys over, you have whatever else, and it's a disgusting pit. Which, as far as I'm concerned, she's entitled to have the house clean.
Yeah.
And if she had to spend money to clean up your mess, she is entitled to that money.
Right.
Now I want to see how much money you had in cleaning costs to clean the house. Shh. Hands down. Cleaning costs, the bill from somebody who came in and cleaned the house, disposed of trash and whatever it is.
This is one of the cleaning, and I had to have it cleaned twice. The first time there was so much to do in the kitchen, black mold in the refrigerator and filth on the floors.
Listen to me.
Yes.
I want the bill for cleaning. They're responsible for that.
I buried it.
That's what I need.
This is $100 to haul away broken furniture and trash that they left in the yard and in the house. And this is about the painting.
Painting I'm not interested in. They're not painting your house.
Cleaning here.
What is that piece of paper that you just handed him?
I had to have it cleaned twice because the first cleaner couldn't get past the kitchen.
I don't want a handwritten note. I want a bill for cleaning. A bill for cleaning. You're coming to court. That's what you need, a bill for cleaning.
Well, that's what he gave me.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can I see the
Angel
one that you have in your
Hernandez.
right hand, Bert?
And here, this one shows the yard cleanup that was done with the cigarette butts and beer cans and beer caps that were left in the yard.
Clean
and I have
house
photos of them.
upper. Shh. Clean house upper, clean house lower. $420. Clean up backyard, deck, and hillside. What's in the backyard?
Can I make this?
What?
We had all cleaned all the bedrooms completely, well, to the best of our ability. And when Madeline and I were going into the kitchen with bleach bottles in hand to clean the kitchen, Day came into our home and said, unexpectedly, do not clean. I'm getting a cleaning service. If you agree to pay for 50% of the cleaning, do not touch any of the cleaning service. You are not a professional cleaner. And we said, okay, we'll pay for 50%.
Do you remember that conversation?
Oh, absolutely.
Good, great.
Yes.
So that they
May I tell you what was actually said?
Absolutely.
Okay. They said that they had just started cleaning. They were already moving out. The place was absolutely filthy. I have photos I can show you.
I don't care.
And
Did you
beyond
say
what
to
they
them-
could do and were doing. So what I said to them is, how about I have it cleaned and we share the price 50%?
That's
and
what they
everything
just
I
said.
listed was only 50% of the cleaning that was done.
Fine.
And
$210. That's half of the bill that you have for cleaning.
and the outside yard.
And no. I don't like this bill that you gave me from this person. To haul away miscellaneous items, he's charging you in pen, which is written in afterwards, $100. Not interested. So far I have $210.
Judge Judy continued. Sophia Palmer and roommate Madeline Toll claim former landlord De Leon refuses to return the majority of their security deposit. Day says the girls left her home a mess, and she is countersuing for damages and unpaid rent.
Now, how much did you retain of their security deposit?
It was around $2,500 for a lot of damage, Your Honor.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
Not interested.
Okay.
You rented your house as a frat house for 5 years.
No.
Yeah. You don't have pictures of your house, do you?
I do.
I'd like to see pictures of your house before
We
they
have
moved in.
pictures.
Before they moved in. Right before they moved in. May of 2014.
We have pictures as well, Your Honor.
Great. I'd like to see
before
them.
we moved in.
She said that
You
she
can
would
show,
rep-
just to make, you can show me yours, Miss Leon.
This is just the downstairs where I was living.
Tell me why you took these pictures.
My mother actually took those pictures, if you'd like her to speak.
You took these photographs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that before they moved in?
Yes, Your Honor.
Got it. You have pictures before they moved in?
I did, but I mostly brought the damage, a lot of damage. And sorry, they didn't get...
Gray versus Murray.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Gray was your boyfriend for a while, and you claimed that he owes you some money for a
Yes.
cell phone and for a small loan that you made to him to cover a car purchase from your brother.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Murray says, A, he paid his cell phone bill. B, he paid your brother for the car. He owes you nothing, and you're just irritated with him because it's over, right?
For the most part, yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm glad you tell me where I'm wrong in a second. Mr. Murray, how long were you and Miss Gray a couple?
Maybe 3 months total.
And you met her? How?
Through a mutual friend.
Were you working at the time?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing?
I work at a car audio shop in Baltimore, Maryland.
For how long?
I had just moved into Maryland probably a month prior to meeting Miss Gray.
Do you have family there?
Yes, ma'am. My sister.
Were you living with your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
When you came and moved in with your sister, did you have any money?
No, ma'am.
Miss Gray says that she was really paying for most of the entertainment. Is that about right?
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. No, ma'am. It was kind of a mutual thing.
How come you got into a predicament with Miss Gray where she was sort of fronting for this cell phone?
Well, I was trying to get a phone turned on in my name, and my credit in the past has been a little bad, but...
Why?
I was incarcerated at one time, and a few things got took from me while I was incarcerated, so therefore I couldn't pay for them while I was locked up. So when I got out, they were still weighing on me, so I moved here.
So
to
you moved
kind of
here-
start over, correct.
You moved here after being released from prison.
Yes, ma'am.
You moved to Maryland.
Yes, ma'am.
So did you ask Miss Gray to turn on telephone for you?
We were in the mall looking for a phone. They gave me a high deposit. She was like, well, look, if you promise to pay for the phone, you know, I'll turn it on in my name, you know, so you don't have a deposit. So that's what we did. And I went from there.
Well, that was nice of her.
Yeah, you could say that.
I did.
Okay.
When was the phone turned on?
The exact date.
When was the phone turned on, Miss Gray? Do you know?
Around August, I believe. I'm sorry, September. I'm sorry, September.
And when did the two of you end your relationship?
right after that, actually, in the end of September.
Can I see the bills on it, please?
Yes. I actually have 3 bills. The first bill he did pay on, which is the $327.
$327?
Mm-hmm. I have all the...
Shh. I'd like to see all the backups, please. Mr. Murray, who are all these people? Mr. Murray, the first bill which she said you paid was $327.41. How many free minutes? You have 1,000 free minutes and unlimited on the weekends. Who did you call?
Friends from Florida and business associates, pretty much.
What business do you have that requires you to make these kind of calls during business hours? Mr. Murray.
Any kind of phone calls. I
Mr.
use
Murray,
my phone.
Judge, if you look at most of the calls, they weren't done on work hours. They were done after work hours. Most of the calls weren't business associates. His business associates were through his work, not calling them just directly.
I know it's very nice that you'd like to speak, but I would like to hear him tell me $327 is a lot of phone calls. You have to talk nonstop.
Right. I like my phone. I enjoy talking on the phone. The first bill is that one. That's the one that I received, and it was paid, no problem.
Right, that's what you said. Then we have one for September.
Never saw that bill.
Well, it's a good thing because you probably would have fainted, sir. It's for $787.78.
I almost fainted on the first one, but I paid it.
Well, here, take a look at the second one. Here's the backup. Here, take this. Perfect.
If I would have received this, there's a possibility that it could have been paid. I paid the first one. I paid the first one with no problem. Never saw this bill. If I can't see a bill, I can't pay a bill.
Could you step up here, please? Tell me your name. Miss Walter, you let your brother live with you.
My husband and my 2 children.
Does your husband work?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
No, ma'am.
What kind of work does your husband do?
He paints cars for a living.
Live in a house or an apartment?
House.
Your brother have his own room?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
He's still living with you now?
No, ma'am. He's out on his own now.
When he was living with you for a few months, how much rent was he giving you?
At the time, we did not charge him.
Because you were really being very nice and you wanted him to get on his feet.
We wanted him to get on his feet.
While he was living with you and you were trying to help him get on his feet and not charging him any money, he was on the telephone, charging up $787.78 worth of phone calls. Now, you think that your family could have been helped if he said to you, listen, I'm staying here. I want to be able to give you some sort of assistance. I want to give you $500 a month. That would have been nice, right?
Right.
Mr. Murray, you didn't learn anything in jail, sir. You may sit down now. Now, the final bill was really for shut-off, because you shut off the phone, which is another couple of $100. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes, Judge.
Okie dokie. Now let's talk about the part of the lawsuit that talks about the loan that you allegedly made to him. You needed a car. Her brother had a car. According to her, you acknowledge that you purchased a car from her brother.
Correct.
Stand up. Brother. Last name?
Gray.
Did you meet Mr. Murray through your sister?
Met him through my sister, yes. And he needed a car, from what he said, to go to and from work. And my sister was picking him up all the way at his sister's house, taking him to and from work and doing all that kind of stuff. I was in the process of getting a new car anyway. Sold him my car. I think I quoted him $1,200 for the car. And then he was planning to go on vacation.
He's going on vacation where?
Going on vacation with my sister.
Where were you going?
We were going to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
How are you getting there?
My mom actually paid for everything, the room, the board, everything. Paid for most
so
of our meals.
That's why I let him slide on owing me $200. So my mom, thinking that he would help pay for everything because he was going on vacation. My mom didn't even want him to go on vacation. Then when he came back, he had told me, I'll pay you by Sunday. Then the Sunday went past. I'm asking Ashley, where's the money at? She's not giving me an answer, so I'm calling him. I'm asking him, where's my $200? I don't understand. Well, this happened at work, and I didn't get paid this week because they took money out of my check for this or for that. Then he kept prolonging the date.
What did they take money out of your check for?
No, they told me they were going to pay me for the week that I was gone, and when I got back, they didn't pay me for the week that I was gone.
So they deducted that from your salary.
Correct.
For you because they... Shut! Let me do this my way, will you, please? So far, you're not doing badly. Let me do it my way.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He acknowledged...
Ex-boyfriend James Murray owes for a car loan. James says Ashley is lying about the purchase price.
Did you think you were going to be paid when you were on vacation?
Well, they told me that, yes, that they would not have a problem paying me while I was on vacation. That I told them in advance, and I did some extra stuff for them before I went on vacation. I'm friends with the owner of the business also, so they were going to work with me. It was no big deal. They were going to go ahead and give me my vacation early.
But you were only working there for a month.
For like 3 months. Right. I worked there in 2002. We're friends. It's not just like a business to know what to work for.
All right.
Correct.
So you were short the $200.
Right.
See how easy that was? All you have to do is let me weave my magic.
All right.
Do you understand?
I like that. All right.
You'll understand? Because Mr. Murray says that the total purchase price of the car was $1,000. He paid you $1,000, and that was it. Now, Mr. Murray acknowledges that the reason he didn't have the other $200 that you said he owed you was because his boss changed his mind, therefore he didn't have the extra $200. So now we're in a situation where he acknowledges that the purchase price of the car was not $1,000, as he indicated in the answer, but $1,200. Get where I'm going, Mr. Murray?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you wish I had been your lawyer?
Absolutely.
So you gave your brother the $200 because he was on your back, is what the loan
Yes,
you're
Judge.
talking about.
Right, because what actually had happened with the car was he borrowed the money from his work. His work paid him $1,000 to give to my brother to pay for the car. So they're taking out that money out of his check.
You still working for the same place?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Found a bigger, better job.
When did you leave that job?
November.
She says that your job advanced you the $1,000 for the car. Is that right?
No, they volunteered to buy the car so that I could get back and forth to work due to the
But
fact they knew my family.
But then
There
you
was no
stopped
but.
working for them, Mr. Murray.
There was no but. They told me that I have to. Even when I left there now, there's no question of the car.
Follow what I'm saying to
I
you,
follow
sir.
you.
You follow what I'm saying, madam? Yeah. Yeah, follow what I'm saying. He has a really nice boss, people he knows, nice people. They say, you need a car, so we'll front you the $1,000 or whatever you need for the car. He gets the $1,000, he gets the car, and then he leaves the job because he got a better job. You're a real prince. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,187. Thank you very much. Listen to me. You look like a nice girl. You look like a smart girl. You sound like a reasonable girl. You gotta pick them better.
I understand. Thank you.
Got it? Thank you, that's all.
Please are excused. You may step out.
After the incident happened.
Mrs. Elliott, step forward.
Gracie Reyna is suing the mother of her son's former friend, Carrie Elliott, for the cost of a Sony PSP. Gracie claims Carrie's son, 15-year-old Matthew, borrowed the game and never returned it.
Miss Reyna, it is your claim that your son, this young man, I'm sure, loaned the defendant's son, this young man, I'm sure, some video game equipment, I don't know what it is, something that you had purchased for him, and that this young man either lost it or it was stolen, and you want Mrs. Elliott to replace it because it's her responsibility since he is underage. A big boy, but underage. You don't know anything about this, only what your sons have told you. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
So why don't you have a seat and exchange places with your sons? What's your first name?
Daniel Ortiz.
Daniel. Yours?
Matt.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Is this your father?
Yeah.
Yes. Try
Yes.
yes. Does your father tell you to cut your bangs?
Nope.
Your mother?
No.
I mean, can you read okay with those things?
Yeah.
What do you see?
Reminds me of one of those dogs.
What?
Reminds me of one of those dogs.
Wouldn't be in my house. You know, you go to sleep one night, wake up in the morning, voila, I can see your eyes. I'm not giving you any suggestions or anything, just if you'll hardly know what's going on. Matt, who borrowed this equipment?
Toward the end of September,
Tell me about it.
we were in the cafeteria and we had it out watching movies.
What was it? What kind of equipment was it?
Just PSP, and
I don't know what PSP is.
it's a handheld game like PlayStation 2 kind of.
What were you doing bringing that to school, Daniel?
Keep myself active. I have open period.
I mean, wouldn't it be your time be better spent during open period if you were, I don't know, studying chemistry or reading over your history notes? You see what happens with the hair down your ear? You go like this, you get a tick. I'm telling you, Matt. Seen a lot of people grow up like that with ticks because they've been trying to get the hair out of their eyes. How did you go home with it?
He let me borrow it. For
What
the
did you
day.
say to him?
I said, okay, I'll borrow it.
That's not... Matt, he didn't say to you, would you like to borrow my game? And you said, okay, I'll borrow it. You said, can I borrow it?
I was playing it and the bell rang to go to class, and he's like, well, you could just take it home and play with it for the rest of the day and stuff. And the next day, I went to give it back to Daniel, and he says, no, just hold on to it for the rest of the day, you know, I ain't got my bag. So I was like, no, I got a game to go to. I got to go to the football game and stuff, and he's like, well, just hold it, because I ain't got nowhere to put it. So we played for Columbia High School, but we went to Skyview, so we had no locker rooms and stuff. So we're just supposed to set our stuff inside the locker room of Skyview. And the school is supposed to lock the locker room doors, but I don't think they did. So a bunch of kids went in a locker room, and they stole a bunch of other people's iPods and CD players and money out of their wallets, and they urinated all over our bags. And his PSP was in my bag, which I got his PSP stolen out of there, my CD player, and everything out.
Is that what happened, Daniel?
No.
Let me hear.
October 15th, I let him borrow it, which is on a Monday. Then around lunchtime, I asked, when are you going to give me it back? He said, Friday. I asked him on Friday, when are you going to give me it back? And he said, well, let me use it a couple more days because I'm going to go hunt with my dad over the weekend. And I said, okay.
Did you go hunting with your son in October?
Not on the 15th.
I don't care on the 15th or any day. I said, did you go hunting with your son in October?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I let him borrow it, and he wasn't on school on Monday, which is the following week. And I got a hold of Matt, and he didn't have it.
What did he say?
He said somebody else is using it.
Who was using it?
No one. I didn't give it to no one. I don't know where that came up.
I can hardly tell, sir, because I can usually tell people telling me the truth by looking in their eyes. It's very hard for me to see. You look like a shaggy dog. So I can't tell what's going on behind your... I'm serious with you. I cannot tell what's going on behind your brain because I can't see your eyes. If I had a clip, I would use it. Now, if I believe your story, when did you tell Daniel that his equipment was stolen?
The day right after the football game, which would have been that Friday.
Did you make a police report?
The cop wrote something on it, the school resource officer.
Can I see that, please? Well, first of all, Daniel, this report is written in September, not October. So you are mistaken with regard to the month. Do you understand?
Yes.
How good a friend were you to Matt?
Pretty good.
May I say something?
Sure.
Daniel tries to buy his friends with gifts. He gives them presents to hang out with him.
Miss Elliott, you're not helping your son.
Well,
I'm going to tell you why you're... Because your son already told me that he borrowed it.
Right.
So if you're trying to say that this young man needs friends so he buys them, that has absolutely nothing to do with your son. Because your son borrowed this and was supposed to have returned it.
Right. And he
so it had nothing to So it had nothing to do with him saying, listen, I want you to take the equipment and keep it because I want to buy your friendship. So I don't know what possible relevance it is that you claim that he tries to buy friends. It has nothing to do with this case.
Well,
if I believe your son, it has nothing to do with this case.
Right.
So then what do you have to tell me?
Well, I also have to tell you that Daniel has a problem with picking up things that don't belong to him. I have 2 other reports from the officer.
What does that have to do with this case?
Just that he's out of control.
What does that have to do with this case? You know, I was sympathetic before you opened your mouth. But after listening to you and making excuses for him, I want to tell you that I'm totally turned off. Totally turned off. Because your son acknowledged that he borrowed it, acknowledged that he didn't return it.
Right.
For whatever reason. And I don't care if somebody else told him to put his backpack in an unsecured area where there were no lockers. He knew he had a valuable piece of equipment and it was his responsibility to safeguard it. You just made my job much easier. How much did you pay for it?
Can I also turn
How
this
much
in?
did you pay for it?
Ma'am has the receipt right here.
It's from the officer.
I'm not interested.
The game itself was $249.82, and there's a game with it as well with the receipt. I put on my credit card.
I only have to ask you one thing, Mrs. Elliott. Does the report that you have there indicate that Daniel was in any way responsible for the theft or vandalism that occurred at high school?
No, it does not.
Then your son's responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $307. That's all.
Stacey Flynn is suing her former upstairs neighbor, 21-year-old science instructor Jasmine Kivett, for water damage to her apartment. Stacey claims Jasmine overflowed her bathtub.
This is case number 8 on the calendar, the matter of Flynn versus Kivett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Flynn, how long have you lived in the building where you are currently residing?
I'm not currently residing there any longer, but I lived there for 15 years.
How long have you been out of that building?
1 month.
And how long had Miss Kivett been your upstairs neighbor?
Approximately 1 year.
Did you have any difficulty with her before this incident happened?
Nothing face-to-face, but was always noisy prior to this incident.
Had you ever complained?
No.
And on February 14th, tell me what happened.
On February 14th at 5 p.m., I entered my apartment and discovered that the ceiling and the walls were flowing with steady streams of water. Instantly, I ran to management and asked them if they could assist me in the problem and informed me that Jasmine Kivett, the resident above me in number 327.
Don't tell me what they said to you. Pronounce your last name?
Kivett.
Miss Kivett, you were home on February 14th.
Yes.
And you're going to tell me that through no fault of your own, the bathtub overflowed.
Yes.
And it was that overflowing bathtub that caused the damage to Miss Flynn's home.
Yes.
Because it was the bathtub's fault.
No, Your Honor.
Well, that's what I read here was the bathtub's fault. The bathtub didn't have an appropriate little hole in it. And even though you left the water running, it was the bathtub's fault for not having a hole.
There was no overflow drain.
Overflow drain. I'm not good at those things. So it was the bathtub's fault because it didn't have an overflow drain.
No, Your Honor.
Whose fault was it?
I was bleaching my bathtub, and there were tons of chemicals. The chemicals were so strong, I had to dilute them. So I left the water running, and I just was doing spring cleaning. It was an honest mistake. The water began to overflow. I did what I could to try and remedy the situation. It was an honest mistake, and she handled it in such a way that I had no choice but to refuse to pay her.
You come from California?
Yes.
What do you do?
I work at a company called Mad Science, and I teach in-class workshops and after-school programs.
You look like a nice young lady.
Thank you.
You're not seriously suggesting to me that you're not responsible for the damage to her apartment and to her things.
I understand that what happened was not her fault at all. She could not help the water coming into her apartment, of course, but the way that she handled it, she attacked me in such a manner. She provided me no evidence when she asked me for money. She wouldn't let me into her apartment to assess the damage, and the two people who were damaged told me that it was very minimal. They had dealt with her numerous times, that she was crazy, and I was beginning to think that she was a little crazy because she would yell at me, cuss at me, she would stand on her balcony demanding money.
Well, this happened on February 14th.
Yes.
So now we've acknowledged, Ms. Cavett, that you were at fault. You lived in that apartment for a year.
Yes.
You know that the bathtub did not have an
overflow drain.
An overflow drain. This wasn't a surprise bathtub. They didn't sneak it in there,
No.
right, when you weren't looking.
Of course
This
not.
was the same old bathtub that was in there that was dirty because you hadn't been cleaning it all along. So you were bleaching it out and doing other spring cleaning, and you forgot about it.
I knew that the water was diluting the chemicals. It had to. I couldn't just leave the bleach, and it was such a...
Well, if it was diluting the chemicals, the water was
running, of course, yeah.
And if the water was running and you didn't check on it often enough, then it was going to overflow
Well, yes.
because it had no...
It had no overflow drain.
Right.
I was under the impression that in the state of California there must be an overflow drain or your plumbing's not up to code.
Okay. All right. There we go. Bert, stand up there, and I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see any of that. So let me understand something. It was the bathtub's fault that it wasn't up to code. Either that or you thought that somehow between the time you started to bleach the tub out and the time it overflowed, it came up to code and somebody snuck in an overflow hole?
No, Your Honor.
So that you knew that there was no place for this water to go if you left the water running except on the floor. Right?
Yes.
So now we're not talking anymore about liability. We have now, you and I, determined, my dear, that it's not the bathtub's fault that it overflowed.
Of course not.
It's your fault. You were dusting and cleaning and being Martha Stewart and weren't paying attention to what was going on in your bathtub. Now the question is, what are the damages that Miss Flynn, the perfectly innocent bystander to this, suffered as a result of your negligence? Don't laugh at her. Don't smile at her. Just show me the damage.
Well, there was a raw pine dresser. It was in my closet with all of my other clothing and ended up being completely saturated and soaked. It swelled so bad that I couldn't open any drawers.
Okay.
So I replaced a dresser. There was a wool braided rug that was also damaged.
I assume you took photographs?
Yes, I did.
Can I just see them, please?
Sure.
Good. Now, when did you tell the defendant about the damages and how much they were?
On the day that the incident occurred, I went to her apartment and I confronted her and informed her that there was a serious situation occurring in my apartment and that at some point we were going to have to do a damage assessment. For 2 weeks, I didn't hear one thing from her. So I wrote her a letter informing her that I was expecting her to assume responsibility and that I was willing to give her a break on certain items that were damaged because I understood she was having a difficult time.
Okay. So far, I see a lot of walls. You didn't replace any of the walls.
No.
You didn't repaint or anything. They did that. Okay. How much did it cost you to replace the dresser?
$216.
Have a bill?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? And the rug?
I haven't replaced it.
How much did you pay for it?
It was $180.
What happened to the Tiffany lamp?
Water came down on the surface area where I had the cop it out. Wouldn't work.
Okay. $489 of what your bills are.
Here is a $75 bill to clean my carpet.
Okay, let me take a look at that. Okay. I think that you're responsible for $564 worth of damage to her apartment, including the cost of cleaning carpets. What do you want to show me?
I have a letter in which she states that she bought a rug from Walmart for $39, and now she's charging me for a different one for $200.
In place of the one for $180.
Let me see the letter. So instead of the rug for $180, you replaced it with a rug for $39?
I said that in this letter, if you'll read it, it's stating that I expected her to assume responsibility and that I would give her a break and I was willing to work with her. That arrangement was created in hope that I didn't have to go to court and sue her.
Okay, the items that she originally indicated to you come to $366.
Yes.
Plus a lot of aggravation.
Your Honor, I tried to work with her. I have a phone bill here.
So what did you offer her?
I called her numerous times.
What did you offer her?
She was harassing me, and I asked to see the damage. I couldn't offer her anything without knowing what I was paying for. All I asked for was a mere photograph or to be let into her apartment to see. You know, I apologized for what happened, but I said, can we work together? Can I see what's going on? I can't just blindly hand you money and say, here, I know there was a flood, so here's all my money. All I asked was to see what happened.
Judge Judy, for 2 weeks, I had to try to wrangle her into coming to take damage assessment, into trying to come to my apartment.
What was the
set up
first
an
date on
appointment.
your phone bill? What was the first date that you called her after the flood?
February 22nd.
That's not enough.
That's not before I had her phone
Listen
number.
to me, my dear. You don't need a phone number. You go up to her apartment, write her a note.
I did. I didn't write a note, but I knocked on the door.
Listen to me. If this happened on February 14th,
yes,
you going up to her a week later is not sufficient. You calling her on the telephone a week later is not sufficient. She's not going to keep dirty laundry, a rug, around while you make time to go up to her house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You've made this case very, very complex because this convoluted story that you tell me doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Zai. It's a very dumb thing to do.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stacy Flynn says her former upstairs neighbor, Jasmine Cavett, damaged her apartment when she overflowed her bathtub. Jasmine says it was an accident.
Look, the original bills that you gave her amounted to $366. What you've padded over the next couple of months, because you've been aggravated and annoyed, come to $564. Quite honestly, I believe that your time is worth something.
Thank you.
Your time to clean the premises, the time to get rid of the rug, the time to go out and buy new boots, the time to sop up the stuff, the time to wait for people to come and clean the carpeting. That's worth something. Now, the fact that the defendant says it was an accident, well, it certainly wasn't on purpose. She didn't mean to cause this flood, but she did cause the flood, and she was responsible for the consequences, including your loss of time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't even know her. She apparently didn't like me. I have no idea why.
Completely irresponsible.
All parties in the matter of Zai versus Hagedorn, step forward.
Real estate investor Kumar Zai is suing former friend, 25-year-old bartender Morgan Hagedorn, for a loan for bail. Morgan claims Kumar's pawned her laptop and digital camera behind her back.
Mr. Zai, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for bail and for collect calls that she made to your home from jail. She is, according to what I've read in your complaint, the ex-roommate of your ex-girlfriend.
Correct, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Hagedorn?
Yes.
When were you arrested and for what?
It was early March of last year, and I was arrested for driving on a suspended license.
Why didn't you have a license?
Prior court tie-ups.
What does that mean, prior court tie-ups?
What had happened is I had received a notice in the mail, and I did not fill it out in time or get it back, and therefore my license was suspended.
How many times was your license suspended?
Just the once, but due to missing court dates and whatnot, I got it revoked as well as a bench warrant for my arrest, and that's when I was arrested.
You have a very busy corporate schedule, Ms. Hagedorn?
Yes, I do.
You do? Like what?
I do bartend full-time as well as model, and I'm pursuing other social non-for-profit organizations here in, well, my hometown, St. Louis.
Is she for real or what?
It takes up a lot of my time.
You get a copy of my old book, will you please?
Put that on your schedule.
Why did you call Mr. Zayi when you got busted?
I called my roommate, and she was at his apartment, and I didn't know what to do.
Called your roommate on her cell phone?
That is correct.
And you found her at Mr. Zayi's apartment?
They witnessed the arrest, and they were aware of what had happened.
Just listen to me very carefully. You called her on her cell phone?
I do believe.
What does that mean, you do believe?
It's been a long time, and it was a very traumatic night.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Zayi?
I'm a real estate investor.
Did she call you in your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the phone bill?
Unfortunately, I couldn't obtain the phone bill. No, I don't have the phone record.
Well, what evidence do you have of this whole thing, sir?
Well, I do have a paper from the court from the day that I actually went and bailed her out of jail. I had to charge it on my credit card. There was a record of that, and which was actually the bond money. And I also have a court paper that shows that they refunded the bond money to her and her attorney instead of coming back to me.
Why is that, Ms. Hagedorn? Why did you take the bond money?
I did not receive any bond money. I was told that I was not to receive it, and it was to be paid to my attorney for services rendered.
Who's your attorney?
Leland.
Phone number?
I do not have that information on
Go
my
get
phone.
it! Go get it!
Okay.
Ready?
Area code 947.
Okay, and it is your testimony that you never saw any of this money, and it went to your attorney for counsel fees that were your responsibility?
Yes.
They weren't Mr. Zayi's responsibility?
That is correct.
Good. So why don't you owe him this money, $1,095?
Well, what happened, Your Honor? Kumars told me that he had taken my laptop as well as my digital camera that was at his girlfriend's grandmother's house, and he pawned it off. This was a brand new laptop.
Go ahead.
Your Honor. What had happened was she pawned her computer approximately 2 months prior to this incident, along with her digital camera. And my ex-girlfriend's grandmother felt sorry for her, went to the pawn shop, got it out of there, and held on to it till she gives her the money to, basically get it back.
So she pawned it?
She pawned it originally, and after repeated phone calls, I've called her at least 20, 30 times, left messages for her, to give me a call back, let's make an arrangement, to pay this money back to me. Never heard back from her. So I contacted my ex-girlfriend's grandmother. I said, is there a way I can get the computer from you to maybe sell it, to maybe recover some of my money? And she says, well, let me call her and tell her that this is what I'm doing. I said, that's fine. And I paid $300 to her, my ex-girlfriend's grandmother, to get her computer and her digital camera. I called her. I said, I have your computer, I have your digital camera. If you want to come and pay me the money that you owe me, it's sitting right here. Otherwise, I'm going to try to sell it to recover some of my money. Never heard back from her again. So
did you sell it?
I sold the computer for $325. I still have the digital camera. I brought it with me to give it back to her.
Well, so you sort of resorted to self-help, sir. You've made this case, which was a relatively simple case, very, very complex.
Yes, sir.
You understand, Mr. Zayi?
Yes, I understand.
You should have come to me before you resorted to self-help, sir, because this convoluted story that you tell me doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Zayi. It's a very dumb thing to do. And since you've complicated the situation, there's very little I can do to help you. I mean, this lady, I know, has a very busy corporate schedule, but she doesn't know whether she's a foot or horseback. I don't know whether you got full value for the computer when you sold it for $300. You can't do what you did. You created a problem by complicating the situation by resorting to your own form of self-help. Do you understand?
Yes,
I can't help you. Goodbye.
How do you excuse?
Says Amber and her friends cheated on a poker hand.
Now, this is case number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Hunting versus Rodriguez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Hunting, according to what I read, there was a poker game that was going on in your home?
Correct.
And the defendant was one of the participants in the game. There was some sort of a disagreement as to who had the winning hand. The defendant lost, and you claimed that in a tiff, when he left, he damaged your car. He says he didn't do it. How do you know him?
He is just a friend of a friend, and he was invited to my house by our mutual friend.
Do you have a regular poker game that goes on in your house?
No, it was just for fun.
How many people were there?
6.
Men or women?
There were 2 women and 4 men.
How many of the men did you know?
3 of them.
He was the only one you didn't know?
Correct.
What about the other woman?
She's my witness, Tristan.
So tell me what happened.
Well, it was August 27th, 2004, and we just had a gathering at my house of friends, and he came with our friend Robert, and I had no reservations about it. I was okay with that. And I think he had been drinking before he came over, but I still wasn't really concerned. He decided to participate in our game, and it had gone on for a good couple hours with no problems. We were all just hanging out having fun, no problems at all. And then when he had thought he won a hand and there was some questions about it, he kind of got defensive and aggressive when we tried to tell him otherwise. And he got angry at us, and he started calling names and pushing people and getting up and getting violent.
So what happened next?
Well, we tried to break it up. He tried to fight my boyfriend. He was calling names. He picked up a bike and actually threw it across the deck and bruised my friend's arm. I have a picture.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why would she make up such a story?
I don't know. I can't
Did you
really
lose a hand in
speculate.
poker?
No, ma'am. I still remember the hand.
Well, was there some sort of a dispute as to whether you won?
Yes, ma'am.
So you won the game,
Yes, ma'am.
and then they told you you lost the game and couldn't take the money.
Actually, her boyfriend had agreed that I won, and then she jumped in the middle, tried to read his cards, said, no, you won, look at your hand. He looked, and then he agreed, tried to take the money. But he already called the wrong hand. He called a hand lower than mine. I started taking the money down. He kept trying to argue with me. She kept jumping in the middle. I admit I did call her, but it wasn't really directed towards her. It was like, I don't want to hear what any have to say when 2 men are playing a game. It's our money, it's our game. No one else is in the game.
The women weren't playing?
No, they already lost.
Sorry.
They already lost all
So
their
the
money.
been playing,
Yes, ma'am.
and you did play with the women.
Yes, ma'am.
So it wasn't as if you don't want to play with women, that it wasn't
Oh,
just
no.
a man's game.
No, we were all playing. They lost. There were 3 of us left.
And nothing happened with the bicycle.
No, there was a bike in the way, but I was getting pulled out of their house, and I bumped into a bike. I never picked a bike up, threw it, or anything like that.
Okay, then according to you, Miss Hunting, Mr. Rodriguez damaged your car when he left. How did he damage your car?
He damaged 2 vehicles. He was inside, and it took a good 15 minutes to get him calmed down. We were trying to calm him down. He wouldn't calm down. So he was physically removed from my house.
How was he physically removed?
By our friend Robert.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, he escorted me out of the house.
He pulled you out?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't want to leave?
No, her boyfriend had tried to start a fight with me, so I stood up. We were going to fight, and he didn't want to fight. And then her mom came in, said we're going to call the police. Told her to call the police, you know. They're trying to rob me of my money.
So you still felt as if you were owed that money
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
pot. So you didn't want to leave without your money.
No, ma'am.
So you were pulled out by Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you were pulled out, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, he pulled me out, but right before the door closed, I said, look, you know, I'll leave, but I want my money, at least the money I put into the pot in the beginning. They went and got my money. He gave it to me. He walked to his car and got in and left.
Who walked to the car?
Me and Robert.
Robert was the one who had brought you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still a friend of yours?
Yeah.
See him?
Yeah. He lives on the same street, so yeah, we see
Good.
each other.
And you claim that he damaged cars when he left. Do you have any witness? Did you see him do that?
I actually have Robert here as a witness.
Really? Bring him in. And Robert is your friend.
Yes, ma'am.
So Robert wouldn't lie for her.
I can't speak on that. He's intimate with her friends, so a lot of people do a lot of things when they're with somebody.
I don't think that's important.
Swear the witness, please.
Raise your right hand, sir. You swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Robert Silva.
Mr. Silva, Mr. Rodriguez says that you're a friend of his. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you known him?
About 15, 16 years.
You invited him to a party on the 27th of August at Miss Hunting's home. Is that right?
Yes.
You were playing poker?
Yes.
And there was some sort of a dispute over a winning hand. We're getting past that. Did you see an incident involving Mr. Rodriguez and a bicycle?
No.
Didn't see him pick up or toss a bicycle?
No.
Did you remove him from the house?
We walked out together.
You didn't pull him out of the house?
Pull, no. I was just, he wasn't done talking, and I think we were done talking, so I said it was time to go.
Now, when he left the house, can you describe what happened, sir?
I told him to leave, and I went to go close the door.
Look at me when you're talking.
And on the way out, I seen him kick Amber's car on the way out.
How many cars did you see him kick?
I only seen him kick Amber's car.
Did you say anything to him when you finally caught up to him?
No.
You didn't say, why did you kick Amber's car?
It's too late. It doesn't matter why. I couldn't stop it.
Oh, no. That's their witness. They say
That's their witness, sir, but it's your friend for 17 years.
Oh, yes, ma'am. But it just seems fugazi to me because...
What?
It seems a little funny to me because they said I threw a bicycle. He didn't see it.
No, he didn't see that.
I kicked 2 cars. He only see me kick 1. Oh, no. The story seems wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair. Not
Daniel Rodriguez vandalized 2 of her cars after an argument over a poker game. Amber has produced a surprise eyewitness.
Did you call the police immediately?
As soon as I saw the damage to the vehicles, I went inside.
Was that the same day, the 27th of August?
Yes.
Can I see the police report, please? How old are you, Miss Hunting?
21.
You live at home with your folks?
With my mother.
And this is your mom?
Yes.
Who, if I called her as a witness, would testify about a lot of bad language that she heard, and she said she was going to call the police, correct?
Correct.
You have photographs of the vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Well, the detective who responded saw the following, Mr. Rodriguez. He saw the damage to the cars. The issue is really, was this old damage, new damage? But let me tell you what the police officer wrote. Second vehicle, 1997 Ford Escort, belonged to Amber's mother, Doreen Hunting. I noticed a circular dent near the driver's side door and chipped paint around the dent. I located several pieces of the chipped paint on the ground, directly below the dent on the door. So you know what that suggests to me, Mr. Rodriguez?
New damage?
Very smart. Now, who do you think had a motive to be angry that night?
I did.
And whose dear friend who invited them to this party says it was you who caused the damage?
Mine.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you were sitting in my place, would you think that I caused the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair.
But
Not
I
that
also
it's
would
not
think
that it's
that-
really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking. What are the estimates to fix these 2 dents?
$1,893.
Together.
Yes.
That's a bargain. So not only didn't you win, sir, at poker that night, but your temper is going to cost you $1,893. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was drunkenness and nobody was really listening.
26-year-old account manager Lisa Kerr is suing her ex-boyfriend, Private Eye Gary Guthrie, for a loan to buy a spy cell phone. Gary says the spy equipment was a gift.
Ms. Kerr, who is this?
This is my witness, my friend Lindsay.
Mr. Guthrie, who is this?
This is my brother Adam in witness.
This is the situation as I understand it. You and Mr. Guthrie dated briefly. Was it a time he was separated from your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And for some strange reason, according to you, Mr. Guthrie, who needed some spy equipment, that's your business, you're in security, surveillance, and you agreed to put it on a piece of equipment that he saw that he liked. And you did. According to you, he said he was going to pay for it. The piece of equipment came, you and Mr. Guthrie no longer an item. Mr. Guthrie says that the spy equipment doesn't work.
Correct.
So he's not paying for it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Well,
Well is not an answer, Mr. Guthrie.
Well, I
if it
assumed it
worked,
was
listen to me very carefully, sir. If it worked, were you going to pay for it? Just a second. The questions get harder. What's your first name?
Gary.
Gary? Listen to me, Gary. Try not to play with me, sir, otherwise you're going to look like an idiot. If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That wasn't hard, was it, Gary? No. Did you actually think you were going to come here and make a fool out of me?
No.
So it didn't work. And you told the plaintiff it didn't work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the company said, send it back to us, and while you're not going to get your money back, you can buy additional merchandise.
Or switch it out for another one that might work if it
Or
came.
switch it out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understood that, right, Gary?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how mellow Gary is getting now? Gary gets it now. Because in Gary's answer, he thought he was being a wise guy, and he told me first it was a gift from her, that she bought him a gift. And then she changed her mind because she went back to her husband and they got this big bill, and that's why she's probably coming after him. That didn't ring true to me. So that's why I asked Gary if he was intending to pay her back for it if it worked. You understand, Gary? Then you bring along genius with you over here. Because the idea was, according to you, and you agree, that you were told to pack up the old equipment and send it back to the company. And you brought her over the box.
No, I didn't actually bring the box.
How did she get the box?
Through my brother.
He brought her the box.
Yes.
And she paid for sending it back.
That's correct.
Not you. She paid for sending it back. Now, genius, you can stand up.
Lisa Kerr says ex-boyfriend Gary Guthrie owes for a loan to buy a spy phone. Gary claims the phone was broken and he tried to return it.
You got a first name?
Adam.
You didn't pack up the spy equipment, did you, Adam?
I was told...
is not an answer.
I did pack up the equipment.
You did?
But I grabbed the wrong device, apparently.
What does that mean, genius?
When I gave it to Lisa and she shipped it off, they told her it was the wrong device. But I did not know because my brother was out of town. It was a phone call that told me to pack up the device.
What did you tell your brother to do?
I told him to grab my cell phone and back it up to get to her.
Your cell phone? Well, that's not a spy piece of equipment that costs $3,400.
Well, if you've seen my other cell phones, you'd understand that I have a lot of cell phones, and all my cell phones are pretty high-tech.
I somehow think, Adam, that this was a little scammy-whammy that was going on here, kids. You sent back the wrong thing. Did you send back the wrong thing?
Yes, by accident.
Ultimately, you found the device, and it had not been sent back, right?
Correct.
When you found the device that had not been sent back, what was the first thing you did?
Well, I told her I obviously must...
So the first thing you did was call her?
I tried to attempt to. I wasn't able to get in touch with her.
So you did call her?
Yes, once I found out it was the wrong device.
Well, then I want to know, what date did you find out it was the wrong device?
Mid-December, somewhere in the middle of December.
And when did you find out that they didn't receive the device?
December the 18th or 20th.
And when did Mr. Guthrie call you?
I actually never spoke with him about that until I had left to go on Christmas vacation, and I ended up breaking my leg. So I was out of commission for a few months, and I finally got a hold of him again in March.
So between December, when he found out that he did not give you the right piece of equipment, and March, are you telling me he never called you?
Not that I spoke with him, and not a message that I got from him, no.
So he never called?
No, ma'am.
As far as you know, he never called?
Right.
What did you do with the piece of equipment, Gary?
Well, come mid-April, we were fishing, and I was trying to get the device to work, which is the whole issue, how it didn't work. And out of frustration, it actually ended up in the lake.
So, Gary, who do you think ought to pay for this piece of equipment?
Well, my assumption, seeing that she didn't call me back for that period of time...
Didn't call you back? Did you send her a letter?
I didn't send a certified letter, Your Honor, no.
Did you send her back the piece of equipment and say, I'm sorry, my idiot brother made a mistake? The answer is no. The answer is you took the piece of equipment and you threw it in the lake. It's according to you. I don't know whether I believe you or not, but that's according to you. When did you throw it in the lake, Gary?
Let's see, April, mid-April.
So you could have done a lot of things. The first thing that you could have done was try her once on the phone, if I believe that. You couldn't get her in. So you packed the piece of equipment up and say, I'm sorry, this was a big mistake. That's in December. I'm going to bear the burden of sending it back to the company. I don't want you to send it back for another $70 because my brother doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback, right? You chose not to do that, Gary. Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband? Huh?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed that she went back to her husband, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it. How much was it?
The original purchase was $3,035. The other items that he chose to replace it came to an additional $223. They wouldn't send me a return authorization.
Just a second, you mean you bought other stuff, Gary? Gary! Did you buy other stuff? You bought another $223 worth of stuff?
I was trying to exchange, yes.
You were trying to exchange it for the wrong piece of equipment that your brother sent back.
Something that actually worked.
Just a second. You bought some other stuff despite the fact that your brother sent back a bad cell phone instead of this piece of spy equipment.
I wasn't aware that he'd done that, Your Honor.
Well, did you send back the other stuff that you purchased for $223?
I never received it.
We never received it because we had to give them the list of the items that we wanted in replace of it. After we gave them that list, they gave us the return authorization. Once they received the phone, they were going to send the items. Well, they never received the phone.
So they never sent the items. Why? Then you shouldn't be charged for them.
But I have the email where it says we have to charge your card prior to even giving you the return
Then you have
authorization.
to call them and say you never sent those items. Do you understand? I'm not charging them for those. That you take up with the company. They never sent you the merchandise. They can't charge you.
I have done that. It's a company in Thailand. It's really the only way I can communicate with them is through email.
Well, then I would suggest that you be smarter next time and not deal with a company in Thailand and not deal with Gary
Understood.
and his brother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,035.
Schmiel, parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Bert, I'd like you to do me a favor. Since there's a potential for there being some serious yelling there by me, you can take these two children and see to it that they amuse themselves elsewhere.
Gotcha. Come this way.
Ms. Johnson, according to the complaint that I've read, you rented a house.
An apartment unit.
Or an apartment unit in a little complex.
Yes.
Where the defendant also lived.
Yes.
The owner of that apartment unit is her mother.
Yes.
You, according to you, have the right to use the driveway because the driveway can only accommodate one car, and if a second car is pulled behind your car, you can't get out.
Yes.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
That the unit is rented to the plaintiff. She has the right to use the driveway.
I don't know what agreement they had.
Do you have an agreement?
Yes, I do have
I'd like
an
to see
agreement.
it, please.
That the agreement, the landlord gave her a copy of this. She has a
I'd like
copy
to
of
see
that.
it, please. So this is an agreement by your mother, who's the owner of the property.
Correct.
The owner of the property gives exclusive use of the driveway to Miss Johnson.
I have no knowledge of that agreement.
I don't believe you. In any event, you are bound by it.
Okay, can I ask you a question? If I don't know anything about it, how am I bound by it? Because I have no copy of that, no knowledge.
Listen to me. I find that you knew that you were not supposed to use the driveway. The drive... Don't speak. Okay. Just listen.
Okay.
I find that because even in your answer to her complaint, you say, I only left my car there for a minute while I was dropping off groceries. So you knew very well, because unless you don't speak to your mother,
Correct.
and if you didn't speak to your mother, she wouldn't let you live there. So I find that you knew exactly what is contained in this letter of agreement, and you could say no from today till tomorrow. My job is to figure out who's telling the truth, and you don't want me to label you a liar before we even start, right?
Right. But
Good. So I suggest you keep your mouth shut until I get to you.
No problem.
Were those your children?
Correct.
Which is why I put them out. According to your complaint, there have been ongoing problems with the defendant with regard to parking behind your car.
Yes.
When did they start?
It started in April of this year.
What happened this year that made this problem occur?
Well, when the contract was originally written in December, Adrian at the time was not included nor excluded, because at the time she lived in the front house. She didn't have a car at the time, but when she had a car years ago, she parked her car in front of the house. So April 2005, she pulled her car up behind me and blocked me, and I have pictures.
When did she get a car?
I didn't even know that was her car. When I called her mother and said I'm blocked in, and she asked me to describe the car, she said, oh, that's Adrian's car. So I saw that same car parked on the curb, like in the street. I thought it was abandoned because it doesn't have a license plate on it, and there's no VIN number.
I see the pictures,
So I had no idea that that was even her car. Her mother had to tell me it was her car, so I don't know. This is the picture of her car.
Prior to that, there had been no difficulty because she did, according to you, either didn't have a car, or if she did, it was parked in the front of the house.
That's correct. At the time,
Okay.
we were just not on speaking terms. But there were no problems with her parking the car back there because she always parked in the
Any
front.
reason why you weren't on speaking terms with her?
We've never gotten along since childhood, and
So you know each other for a long time.
Exactly. Our personalities are just very different friends, and her ways have made me decide that she's not a person that I want to even hang around with.
Okay, so the first time was in April.
In April.
When was the next time?
The next time was on April 15th. She blocked me in for about 4 hours. I called the Department of Transportation and the police, and they called me on the phone to find out 4 hours later if the car had been moved, and by that time she had driven off. The next time she blocked me in was on May 20th. She blocked me in for about an hour.
Did you ring her bell? Did you try to call her?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely did. I always, either I holler, because our door, the way my door sits, is her backyard is my front yard. So I call her, or I have my daughter go knock on the door. I don't have her phone number, and she wouldn't let me out. She'd be like, I'll move my car whenever I want to. So on the 29th, when she blocked me in, her mother was out of town, and I was getting ready to go to work. She pulled up behind me, blocked me in. So I said, hey, you need to be required. I have to go to work. I'll move whenever I want to move. So she walked into the house, and I'm like, no, what am I going to do? The police called me 4 hours later. They never showed up. So I figured the best way to get her to move her car is to make her feel like a caged rat. I closed the gate, here's a picture of the gate. I closed the gate and locked it. Immediately, she came running outside. Instead of coming to my door and saying, I'm ready to move my car now, she bagged up and rammed the gate and ran it down. I called her mother and said, Annie, I called the police. They came within 30 minutes. I said, Annie Mae, Adrian ran your gate down because I locked her in because she would not move her car so I can go to work. And they came out. Here's a police report and made an incident.
Can I see it, please?
This is the police report. It's the letter. The police report is the letter from
All right. That's May 29th. Let me look at the police report.
Okay.
Her mother signed this report.
That's correct.
Okay, so your mother signed this report against you.
Yeah, because she said they said I could make the report. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So after that, on June 6th, I was coming home from work, 7:30 in the morning, hear a car pull up, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Adrian. I have to leave out here in an hour to go to my exercise class. So I hollered out the window, you better move your MF car. And she ain't moving nothing, you know. So she went in the house, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Because I'm not going to miss my, I lost 60 pounds, I'm exercising, I'm not going to miss my class. So I decided the best way to move her car was to bag it out. And I bagged her car out into the street where it turned into the curb. She got upset, came out of the house. Oh, you done did it now, you thief.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are lying to me because any sensible person.
But you don't know me to say that.
Whoa, I know you.
No.
I know exactly who you are. Get your hands off your hip. There's only one attitude here. That's mine.
Cousin Adrian Ishmael damaged her car and her driveway gate. Adrian says Lynette pushed her car into the middle of the street.
So you pushed her car out?
I did.
With your car?
With my car. And so she got upset. I saw her, she jumped in her car, got her key, she came around, and I saw her coming, so I quickly closed the gate, I locked it, and she rammed the gate into my car. And that's where I have the damages right here.
Can I see it?
And her landlord kept telling her, you don't have any business there. The police come out, here's the police report. You have no business being there. You can't explain why you're there.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Okay, first of all, that's a total lie.
Let's start with 2 days that I'm interested in.
Okay.
The first one is when your mother signed a police complaint against you.
I agree. I admitted to the vandalism. I did do that.
Okay. Why did you park your car behind her car, fully knowing that you were really rendering her unable to move because your car was there?
Because that's not the truth. First of all, can I explain my story? I usually do park in the front of my house. Oh, yeah. I was getting my house painted. The painters messed up my front door. I couldn't gain access to my house through the front anymore. So I had to go through the back door to gain access to the house. That's the only reason I was parking in the driveway.
Just a second. Let me understand this, Miss Ishmael. Because the painters were working on your house and you had to use the back door, you couldn't park in the front and walk to the back. You had to drive. I'm speaking. You had to drive your car there. How far is it from the front door to the back door?
But that day was right before holiday, and I had bought a lot of groceries. I mean, a whole lot, because I was having a barbecue the next day. And the only thing I was parking in the driveway for was to unload the groceries into the house. And that was the day I rammed the gate. And Lynette is not being...
Just a second. Now let's get to June 6th. Okay. There was no holiday, no barbecue.
Right.
So what were you doing parking behind her car again?
Just unloading groceries.
You already had a major problem a week before. What were you parking there for?
Because, like I said before, I did not have a copy of any agreement. You said you don't believe me, but I have no reason to lie. I have no account of that. That agreement was not between me
Ms. Ishmael, let me explain something to you, madam. Your mother signed a complaint against you.
No, she did not. She did not. That was
no. You listen to me.
Okay.
Your mother signed a complaint of vandalism on the 29th of May. And what you're asking me to believe is you had no communication with your mother.
Correct. That's the truth.
Listen to me. I don't believe you. You are lying to me because any sensible person.
But you don't know me to say that.
Whoa, I know you.
No.
I know exactly who you are. You are somebody who is a passive, aggressive person.
That's not true. That's not true. You don't know me to say
Fortunately, madam, I went to college. I went to law school. I passed the bar. I was appointed a judge 3 times.
That's right.
So I'm the only one that gets to make the decisions. When you're sitting here, you can make the decision. So I decided that when common sense suggests to me that somebody is lying, I'm willing to go with common sense. And common sense indicates to me that when you're living in a house and you know that only one car can gain egress or ingress from one space, and you choose time after time after time to block this lady's car in, that you have a passive, aggressive personality.
But
and if you are, I'm speaking.
Okay.
And if you are living at a premises that's owned by your mother, who happens to have your last name, and your mother is privy to an agreement between this lady and other tenants, that unless you and your mother, you're living on Saturn and your mother is living on Pluto, then your mother said to you, don't park in the driveway. Not to unload groceries, not to unload your kids, not to unload your temper, not to unload your temper. I don't believe you. Can I see the estimates now?
That's why I'm saying you're not giving me a right to prove my case. That's not fair. This is not fair.
Life, madam, I want you to understand something. Life sometimes is not fair. Go ahead.
She parked my car in the middle of the street.
You're absolutely right. She had no right to push your car into the street. Now I want you to show me what damage was caused to your car as a result of being pushed into the streets and the estimates for its repair.
There was no damage.
Right.
I got my car out the middle of the street.
Right. There was no damage.
I'm not claiming damage. All I'm saying is that what she's accusing me of is not true. Because you have not given me a chance to state my case. You have not given me the equal time to...
Listen to me, madam. My time is more valuable than your baloney. What you did time after time was to block this lady's car in, and I can imagine the frustration. Everybody who drives a car who's been in a situation where they've parked a car, and somebody blocks them in and says, I'm just going in for a pack of cigarettes. I'm just going in to pick up a quart of milk. I'll be out. And they say, come on, could you move your car? Get your hand off your hip. There's only one attitude here. That's mine.
I don't have an attitude. So I'm saying that because my back is hurt now.
Well, that's too bad. Try to keep your back in check until this case is over.
That's
good. Very good. And maybe it hurt from carrying all those groceries. Listen to me. Everybody who's driven a car knows what it's like when somebody behaves disrespectfully with no clue as to other people's time. That's you. Maybe if you had some more to do, you would think about other...
True.
Who do you work for?
I'm a chef at a fish market.
How many days... I'm speaking. How many days a week do you work?
I work 6 days a week.
Did you file tax returns this year?
Yes, I did.
How much did you earn on your tax returns that you filed in April?
$14,000.
You know, you're making it up as you're going along.
Okay.
Judging for the plaintiff, the amount of $827. That's all. That's to fix your car.
Judge Judy.
That's it.
What about the days when...
That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Misery Love Company, and she's very upset that she couldn't put me into the sandbox.
This didn't just start. Since she was a child, she's been crazy.
She's jealous, envy.
McLean versus Reed. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Reed, how many children do you have, sir?
6.
Who is your oldest child?
Stephanie.
That's this child here?
Yes.
And your youngest?
Brandon.
How old is Brandon?
Brandon is 8.
You and Mrs. McLean were married for how long?
2 years, I believe.
And how many children do you have together?
2.
Your daughter is planning her wedding. And according to what I read, Mrs. McLean, you and your former husband agreed to split the cost of the wedding. You did a budget. It was going to be $5,000. Mr. Reed, you agreed to pay for half.
Correct.
You did, in fact, pay $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
But the wedding went over budget, and you want him to pay half of the overage of $800.
Yes.
And Mr. Reed says, you went over budget, girls. That's your problem. I agreed to pay for half the wedding, which was budgeted at $5,000, and that's what I'm going to pay.
I agree.
Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone...
John, listen, did you have a nice wedding?
Yeah. Huh? She had a beautiful wedding.
Beautiful wedding, beautiful bride, beautiful husband, nice-looking parents. Don't act... What?
I said yes, thank you.
Do you let him speak at home? Is that the reason he feels compelled to speak here? Because he's not allowed to speak at home?
Don't speak, honey.
She's cute. Okay, now getting back to you. Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone over budget was we had it at the reception at a place that cost a lot more money than we had anticipated.
Now, when you realized that this was going to cost more than you anticipated, because you could have found a site that would have cost within the budget, but that's not what you really wanted, right? You wanted a different place. What did you do when you realized you were going over budget?
Well, Stephanie and I did a lot of emails back and forth because she actually lives in Utah, and I was planning the wedding here. And so I had told her that it looked like we were probably going to go over the cost of the wedding. And so she was kind of my in-between person between her dad and I, and had emailed to him and his current wife that we were going to be probably going over the budget.
Do you have an email from him indicating that's fine, I will pay half of whatever the overage is?
I do.
Let me see it.
This was actually an email to Stephanie.
That's fine. Well, this is not from Mr. Reed. This is from Mr. Reed's wife.
Right.
Do you know that your wife sent an email, sir, that said, listen, that's to Steph, and said, Your dad and I don't have a problem if you go over the $5,000, some, as long as your mom is willing to split the cost. Do you know that your wife said that?
At the time that email was written, no, I wasn't aware that she said that.
When did you become aware of this?
I became aware about 1 to 2 weeks before the wedding as we discussed the overage.
So your wife was speaking allegedly for you, which she can't do, but they acted upon this and then went over their budget. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it was really in good faith that your daughter went over the budget because she felt as if she was dealing with your wife, and your wife had the authority to say, okay, as long as mom splits the cost and as long as you're not going over too much. So when you found out, Mr. Reed, about this email, what did you do?
Well, by the time I had found out about the comment that my wife made, things had already become contentious because all along I had made it clear to Holly that I agreed to a certain amount. Not only that, in the beginning, I actually felt that we should spend more, and it was my suggestion to pay the $5,000. Then come
Is that
back,
true?
That's true.
That's a good guy.
So to then come back to me and then say that she wanted me to pay more money, and not only that, in the beginning when she wanted me to pay the overage, she wanted me to pay the entire overage, which she estimated would be $300 to $400. And like I say, it became contentious, and so I said, we're going to have to settle the matter after the wedding. I don't want it to affect the wedding.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Reed. So?
So?
Well, he did not agree to pay half of the overage.
I know he did not agree to pay half. But when I had sent them an email stating why we had gone over, and he even told me on the wedding day that he would help me pay the overage of the wedding.
Did you tell her that, Mr. Reed?
What I said is that I would look at the expenses and analyze them and get back to her.
And did you look at the expenses?
I did.
Anything there look untoward to you?
The invitations cost $280 more than we had originally was discussed with my wife, Suzanne. There was a DJ that I knew nothing about, and he cost $450.
Well, DJ is great at a wedding. Did everybody have a good time?
I think so.
Did you dance?
A little bit.
I didn't say if you danced well, Mr. Reed. I said, did you dance?
I did.
Other than the DJ for $450, was it originally anticipated that there was any music?
There was going to be pre-recorded music. Okay.
I have very little sympathy because if what we're talking about here is $800, I would have paid the $2 so we wouldn't end up here. So there wouldn't be any bad feeling. You probably already paid so much to raise your daughter to this point, right? Probably cost you a couple of bucks over the course of, how old are you?
19.
19 years? So I don't know whether I would make a big to-do. But let's see. All right. The DJ, what else?
Let's see. There was a video that was done that was presented at the wedding. It was a nice video. It was $210.
A video of what?
They interviewed Stephanie and Tim about the way they met and things like that. And it was shown at the wedding. Yes, it was nicely done. But once again, I knew nothing about it. The bridesmaids' outfits, traditionally the bridesmaids pay for those.
That's absolutely right. Why didn't the bridesmaids pay for their own outfits?
Well, Stephanie and I discussed that we would just take care of that.
Well, I don't know. You can't do that and obligate him. Ms. McLean. First of all, it's not traditional.
Right.
And second of all, you can't be magnanimous with his money. What else?
The last one is traditionally a portion of the flowers are paid for by the groom or the groom's family. So the portion of those flowers, I have it listed at $248.
Can I say something about the flowers? I didn't feel we should ask Tim's family to pay for the flowers. They were actually having a reception in Arizona a week later, and they were paying for everything there for that reception. And they also paid for the luncheon, so I didn't feel it was right to ask them to also pay for the flowers.
Well, very nice. What do you want from him?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you call
Ex-husband Steve Reed, their daughter's wedding. Steve says Holly budget.
He doesn't want to be used as a cash register.
Oh, I understand.
Which is, we'll make the arrangements and you'll pay your half. And we don't have to consult with you. We're going to tell you this is what we want to do, and if it goes over, it goes over. Well, that's unreasonable.
Well, there's more to it than that.
You may explain it to me. But did you call him and tell him about the DJ before you hired the DJ?
No.
Did you call him and tell him that you were going to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses before you agreed to pay for them?
No.
Did you call him and tell him you decided not to ask the bridegroom's family for the flowers?
Yes, we did tell them that.
When?
Before the wedding, when he had stated that they thought that the groom's family had to pay for part of the flowers.
And what did you say? You told him no.
I didn't agree with that.
Fine. That doesn't mean he's not entitled to say, that's fine. You want to pay for that? Pay for it.
Okay, but there's more to it. Where we had the reception, we actually wanted to have it at my parents' house so we could cut the cost. Well, Steve didn't want to have it there.
I don't blame him.
It would have been, the cost would have been a lot less.
Ms. McLean, what you just said to me has absolutely nothing to do with what I've told you, which is you cannot use your former husband as a cash register. He's a person with opinions, and as long as you want to spend money and you want him to reimburse you for the money, he has the right to an opinion. You may not agree with that opinion, and if you don't agree with it and you want to spend the money, you spend it. What he's complaining about is you didn't discuss it with him, and that was wrong. I just want you to understand that I don't think your father was wrong. I think your mother was well-intentioned, but I don't think your father was wrong. And I've been involved with lots of weddings, and I wouldn't think of saying to my ex-husband, you're going to pay for half, and I'm going to decide where it's going to be, what kind of music we have, what flowers we have, what the invitations look like, and I'll send you the bill for half. Right?
But we did...
Flattened out on the floor. And I wouldn't blame him. So, in case there's any bad feeling, I don't think your father was wrong. And Miss McLean, if you wanted to do these things and you chose not to get an agreement with him before, you pay for it yourself. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Friedman versus Zarba. Step forward, please.
Al Friedman is suing the current owner of his previous home, Mike Zarba, for the balance of a loan and for disposing of his valuable war memorabilia.
Mr. Friedman, you had a piece of property, a home.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, at first you leased that home to Mr. Zarba. And then there was a discussion about him purchasing the home. He ultimately did purchase the home.
Yes.
He had some trouble with getting an appropriate mortgage because of some credit problems that he may have had. And you loaned him the closing costs, which were $20,000, with a promise that he would repay that money within 90 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Correct.
So first it is your claim that he owes you some of that money, $2,800?
As of, no, it's $1,800
$1,800
left on the loan.
The second part of your lawsuit is that there was an agreement between the two of you that you could keep some property at the house, which you claim Mr. Zarba discarded.
Correct.
Mr. Zarba acknowledges that he discarded the property. He said that he gave you enough time to get it out. The $1,800 that he acknowledges he owes on the original loan because he was forced to, A, hire a dumpster to get rid of your stuff, and B, he stored it all that time. Is that right, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first rent this house, Mr. Zarba?
End of July 2004.
And when you rented the house, Mr. Friedman still had some property there in both the shed and in an attic?
Yes.
When did you purchase the house?
April 2005.
And when did Mr. Friedman loan you the $20,000?
The closing, but we had an agreement where I did some work for him, so it wasn't really a loan.
Listen to me. When did he loan you the $20,000, which you acknowledge in your answer?
It would be the beginning of April.
And how long were you supposed to have to repay this loan, Mr. Zarba?
In about 60 days.
Good. When does your receipt indicate that you hired this dumpster to get rid of his property?
August 5th.
When did you tell Mr. Friedman that you weren't going to pay him his $1,800 until he removed his property?
It was the end of July, right?
July what?
July 20th.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with Mr. Friedman.
Well, he showed up unexpected again. He treated me like I was a mini storage.
Listen to me. What conversation did you have with him?
The conversation was, you need to take care of your stuff, get it out, and we'll settle up.
Well, he came to your property.
Yes.
Looking for money. He didn't come there looking to take his stuff. He came there looking for his $1,800.
Well, it was $2,800 then.
Oh,
I gave him $1,000.
And when you gave him the $1,000, you said, when you get the rest of your stuff out of here, you'll get your other $1,800.
Yes.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said he was going to get it out. That was the only agreement we had.
And he said he would get it out.
He said he'd get it out.
Now, 2 weeks later, you disposed of his property.
Yes. Gave him until August 1st, in a few days.
Well, so far you didn't give him any time, sir. You didn't say that to me. No. You said, when you get your stuff out, I'll give you your money. That's what you said to me. I repeat, listen to me. Okay. I repeated it twice to you.
Okay.
What troubles me, Mr. Zarba, quite frankly, is your answer. The first line of your answer is the most telling part of your character. You say, I owe him nothing. We were overcharged for the home, considering its condition. And he's lucky we didn't charge him for storing the items. That you wrote. So what you're saying is that after you lived there for a while, and there were lots of things that you had to repair in the house, you didn't like the condition of the house, you said, I want to renegotiate in my own way the sale price of this house because I overpaid him for the house to begin with. You didn't write there that We had an agreement that we would store the stuff until August 1st. He didn't pick up the stuff August 1st. I hired a dumpster. No. The first thing that you wrote, the most important thing that you wrote was, I didn't like the purchase price, and I'm going to take another $1,800 out of the purchase price because I deserve that. That's not the way life works, Mr. Zarber. Is this your first house?
No, ma'am.
Well, I don't know what you did in your other houses, sir, but that's not the way you close a house. You close a house, you negotiate a price, that's the price. Once you purchase it, you don't say, I think I overpaid for this house. Let me see how I can get the price down a little bit. We understand each other, Mr. Zarber?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Mr. Friedman, I want you to tell me what stuff, and I want you to be very careful, because I am an ecumenical abuser. I don't like when somebody tries to put one over late in the game, because that's what he did.
Yes.
I don't like when you try to put one over on me.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me what items you left in the house.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at it.
The largest items on that list were two major important pieces to me were I had military boxes marked with military. I had a frame of when I was in Vietnam of a load crew in front of a plane that had my military ribbons on it. I'm a disabled veteran from Vietnam. There's also boxes I had marked with kids' items that had finger paintings in it from the time that they were kids and just paraphernalia that they did through the years.
What you're really telling me is that the only thing that were there was your memorabilia. That is valuable because two wooden Santa sleighs, handmade, 2 coolers, 2 sets of Malibu yard lights. I don't want to deal with that, sir.
Correct.
I had 10 years of postgraduate work. I don't deal with this. If it was important to you, you should have gotten it out. Now, you just disposed of everything, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, that was the wrong thing to do.
There was nothing in there that looked like it was anything somebody would save. I've got pictures here.
I'm going to take a look at your pictures. Right now. Can I see the pictures, please?
I mean, this is what he left me. It's not pretty.
Well, the shed's not pretty. First of all, get a new camera or take photography lessons. I don't know what this is. Grass. I don't know what this is. I have no idea, sir. This is a whole major blur. Are you doing
let
this on
him in
purpose?
several times.
Listen to me, sir. Are you doing this on purpose?
No, ma'am.
When you took a picture of the grass, I could see that this is grass.
Yeah.
This looks like a Hungarian goulash, sir.
It was in the attic. The lighting wasn't very good. I agree. The pictures don't look great.
Listen to me, Mr. Zarba. This has nothing to do with lighting.
Okay.
This looks like somebody who's had a bad hangover took these pictures. All right. He had no right to destroy your property, sir. He had no right to take it away. He owes you $1,800 because he's a deadbeat on a loan that he made, and he owes you $1,500 for what he threw out. I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Suing him for $4,300, I think that's excessive, sir, for the junk that you left there for over a year. But he has to be taught a lesson that he can't dispose of your stuff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's it.
This is case number 145 in the calendar in the matter of White versus Harris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
According to your complaint, sir, you were at a New Year's Eve party. Yes. Mr. Harris was at the same New Year's Eve party, and you claimed that he was pretty drunk, and while not intentionally, while horsing around, he seriously injured your eye.
True.
Mr. Harris says everybody was sort of fooling around and butting each other. He didn't injure you. You were just fine. And he questions whether or not he exacerbated this pre-existing eye injury that you had.
Right.
What time did you get to the party?
Probably around 12:30.
Who did you go with?
Kathy.
Where had you been before?
At another party.
Who was driving?
I was.
Were you drinking?
Yeah.
How come you were drinking and driving?
And got caught up in the celebrations.
Was she drinking?
No.
Why didn't you let her drive?
Wasn't thinking at the time.
How much had you been drinking?
Couple cups of champagne, maybe.
Whose party was this that you arrived at 12:30?
Another co-worker's, another friend.
What time did you arrive at the party?
It was a little before 12, about 11:30.
Where had you been previous to 11:30?
I live across the street, so I walked across the street to the party.
So you hadn't had any alcohol before 11:30?
Nope. Ma'am.
And what were you drinking between 11:30 and 12:30?
Had about 2 beers.
Who did you come to the party with?
By myself.
Were you by yourself the beginning part of the evening?
Yes, I was.
That sounds pretty lonely on a New Year's Eve, Mr. Harris.
Well, I had just got off work, and then I went home and found out it was a party across the street, and it was somebody who I work with. So I was invited, so I walked across the street.
Okay, so now that we've laid the foundation of this evening, you were there by yourself, you had a date, you arrived at 12:30, you arrived at 11:30, you were sober as a judge,
Yes, ma'am.
Before 11:30, after that, you had a couple of beers. Tell me what happened at 12:30 when you arrived, Mr. White.
I came in the house, I mingled a little bit, had some more drinks. Probably 45 minutes to an hour after that time of mingling. Mr. Harris here was just a little bit out of control. He was obviously way drunker than he said he was. He was so out of control that me and some of the other guests removed ourselves from the living room of the party to like the front porch, patio type area, holding the door, keeping him from coming in. He eventually got up on the patio where he continued his behaviors.
Describe his behavior to me, please.
Out of control is the only word I can use. He jumping around, spitting liquor at us, loud, screaming. Got down into like a football stance and just rushed me.
Describe that to me. Show me. What's a football stance?
Out here?
Yeah.
A football stance.
Okay, that kind of, okay. All right.
Brushed my legs, grabbed me by the legs, and I don't know if he was trying to put me in a wrestling move or just whatever, but as I was going down, his head hit my eye, causing the stitches that I had from a previous surgery to bust. And
What kind of surgery had you had on your eye?
I had a cornea transplant.
When?
September 20th.
You have the medical records for me?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please. That's the injury that you're talking about. Being bumped in the head by him and
Yeah.
the stitches coming apart.
As
Did you
I-
go to the emergency room that day?
Yes, I did.
Who took you?
My friend here, Kathy. I actually went home to... Went back
Kathy,
to
you
the
have a
hospital.
last name. You took him to the emergency room?
Yes.
Immediately after being bumped in the head, did you leave the party?
Well, after I got hit in the eye, like I say, he took me to the ground. I think that was the initial impact. And once I was on the ground, he went for probably a headlock and came across my eye again, taking me back to the ground as I was getting up. And at that point, it was when I crawled to the bathroom, tried to wipe the little blood that I did have, and then I left the party.
How many surgeries did you have subsequent to this incident?
3.
Were you scheduled to have any other surgeries after
No.
the initial corneal transplant?
Right. I was doing...
You were doing
it was in
fine.
the period of my recovery process.
Okay, Mr. Harris, I'm going to hear you, sir.
We was at the party. We had a couple drinks. I had a couple drinks. I knew he was already there, and he was already drinking, because I can already tell the way he was talking.
You arrived first.
No, he arrived first.
No, you arrived first. You said you arrived at 11:30. They didn't arrive until 12:30.
No, he was there first before me.
Okay, keep going.
I already knew that he had been drinking because the way the slur of his speech he was talking. As the struck clock to 12, we all just was having fun. It was party, horse playing, high five. We bumped chests. Then all of a sudden, a buddy of mine had picked me up. I'm looking around like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So then all of a sudden, he grabbed me. So when he grabbed me, I broke him off of me. And then he fell to the ground, I guess injuring his eye then. He was the aggressor. I wasn't the aggressor. He put his hands on me first.
Did you see what happened?
No, he did. I was in the other room. I'm the one that just witnessed.
Tell me your name, sir.
My name is Brian Dukes.
Do you know both of these gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you known them?
About 3 years.
Both?
Yes.
Both nice people?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What time did you arrive at the party that night?
It was after midnight.
Were you out on the porch when this incident
Yes,
occurred?
ma'am.
Tell me what you saw, please.
I'm pretty much a witness to his pretty much out of control behaviors, Mr. Harris. He pretty, like Mr. White here said, he did get down, crouch down in a football stance and did attack Mr. White here.
Just describe to me what you saw. He got down in a football stance.
Football stance. Then he just rushed him, just grabbed his legs and took him down to the ground.
Did you assist him in cleaning up his eye?
No, ma'am.
You were just a guest at the party?
Yes.
Did you come with an escort?
No, ma'am.
Were you the only one with a date that night?
No. No.
Okay. I read your complaint that you had a video.
Yes.
Somebody was taking pictures of that
The
evening.
homeowner of the party actually was recording the whole incident.
I'd like to see it, please. Mr. Dukes, you can have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
This is the point here. This was like I say, well past 12:30. He's actually finna start spitting liquor at us. You can't hear it, but he's screaming, yelling, profanity, whatnot. This in the background. This the patio. Now this the patio area here where we at. That's the homeowner's friend, telling him that he needs to go, but he's not hearing anything. That's the charge. Right there, you can see me holding my eye as I'm going back. And he jumps on me again. I'm trying to get up now. I brought back down. At this point here, this is where I told him, I didn't use these words, but you just messed my eye up. And he was like, all right, get up, I got you. I'm crawling off into the bathroom now. As he comes back out, He attempted to do this again, but he was stopped. This was a separate person here, separate incident. And so that's the homeowner there. At this point, she was just really fed up with him. That's him hitting the door, banging on her front door, glass door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You can horse.
Co-worker Toriano Harris owes for injuring his eye. John says Toriano ripped his cornea when he tackled him at a party.
What you're supposed to say, Mr. Harris, is, I drank too much, I was an idiot. I'm sorry I hurt you, and I'm going to pay your bills. You're not supposed to make excuses, sir. Have you seen this video before?
No.
You've never seen it before?
Never seen it
Why
before.
didn't you show him this video before? Maybe he would understand the nature of his actions.
In this process, I've reached out to him twice, not asking him to pay the bills, just to help me. Like I said, we have been friends for some time. I knew that he didn't just have his money in his pocket, but if he would just assisted, no, I don't. But if he had just assisted with the help, we probably wouldn't be here.
I'm waiting.
If he knew that his eye was messed up, why would he come to a party and have fun anyway? I mean, but you know, sometimes when you're at a party, everybody get, you know, everybody horseplay. At least they do where I'm from.
You want to take this one? What do you want me to do?
I don't know. There are good questions and there are bad questions. That's a bad question.
You know that if you have some delicate surgery, the chances of that surgery becoming infected, inflamed, that can become dislodged, that happens. Is what you're suggesting, sir, that if you have this kind of surgery, you stay in your room? You work at a place where I assume sometimes it gets physical.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's his job. So he has to go to work. And you take care as best as you can to make sure that the people that you're working with don't hurt you. Don't exacerbate a condition that already exists. When you go to a New Year's Eve party, you expect to have a little bit of alcohol, sometimes. And sometimes you even expect people to act stupid. You don't expect them to act very stupid. And when you act very stupid, Mr. Harris, and you hurt somebody, you have to be responsible and pay for it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question, sir. You live across the street from this party.
Yes, ma'am.
You were pretty drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me give you this scenario. You're walking back to your house, and you're pretty drunk, and you're not looking where you were going. And a car is coming down the street. They're perfectly fine. Nobody's drinking in that car. They're driving. But you dart out into the middle of the street, and that car swerves to avoid you. And the people in that car are seriously injured because they hit a tree. Are you going to tell me that you think on New Year's Eve people shouldn't drive their cars because drunks sometimes walk in the middle of the road? That's the same kind of philosophy that you're trying to sell me when you say, listen, when you go to a New Year's Eve party, everybody gets drunk and they horse around. You can horse around without being an idiot. Would you like to show your boss that video?
I don't want to show nobody the video.
Well, you should have thought of that before you came here, Mr. Harris. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I act an idiot.
In the matter of Kelly versus Rundy, step forward.
Ted Kelly is suing his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, for crashing his car while driving intoxicated. Nicholas says the accident wasn't his fault.
Mr. Kelly, this is your
granddaughter.
And you own a car?
Yes.
You let your granddaughter use the car?
Yes.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am.
You're a very, very good grandpa.
Yeah, I try to be.
How many grandchildren do you have?
4.
Is this the oldest?
Yes.
You don't play favorites, do you?
Try not to.
Try not. I know. Well, Mr. Rundy over here wrecked your car. And he says, it's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you wreck Mr. Kelly's car?
April 4th, I do believe.
At what time of the day or evening did you wreck his car?
Around 10 o'clock at night.
Where had you been earlier that evening?
Over at Alicia's house.
How many people were at Alicia's house?
Her, myself, Philip, and 2 of my friends.
So 1 girl.
1 girl.
And 4 boys.
4 boys.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Kelly claims his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, wrecked his car during a night of drinking. Nicholas says Ted's granddaughter is also to blame.
Now, how old is Alicia?
18.
And who does she live with?
By herself.
By herself?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get there?
8 o'clock, probably. She called Philip's cell phone to have us come over just to hang out.
Don't offer me any information that I didn't ask for, Mr. Rundy.
Ma'am.
I'll get all the information I need. At what time did you take Mr. Kelly's car?
9:30 or so.
How much had you been drinking?
A couple glasses of mixed drink.
Of what?
Rum, I do believe.
Who mixed them?
We did.
Who's we?
Me and Philip and everybody. They were pouring our own drinks.
Who mixed your drink?
Me.
And who mixed your second drink?
Myself.
And if you had a third drink, who would have mixed your third drink?
Myself.
Where did you get the mixers from?
We didn't have any mixers. We were just pouring them from the bottle.
Well, then that's not a mixed drink, unless you were mixing scotch and rye, and you weren't mixing alcohol, were you?
No.
Because that would have been really dumb.
Right.
So were you having straight drinks or mixed drinks?
Straight drinks.
So you had a few straight drinks, and you took the car about 9 o'clock at night. Who was in the car with you when you took it?
Philip.
And at what point did the car get wrecked?
Around 9:45, I do believe.
Did you receive any sort of citation that day from the police department?
No, ma'am.
Did the police arrive at the scene?
Yes.
Did they give you a breathalyzer test?
No.
Did they take you to a hospital?
No, they just questioned me about the car and arrested me for public intoxication.
So you didn't get a citation, you got arrested.
Yeah.
So if you got arrested for public intoxication, you must have been really drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
My father now.
Did your mother throw you out?
No, I had to move.
Why?
Wasn't doing the right thing in Indiana.
Is that where your mother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
So your mother had enough of you moved to?
Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Who does your father live with?
Himself and me and my brother.
And what are you doing in Florida now?
About to go to school and just looking
So
for a job
right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah.
About to go to school, about to get a job, right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah, I just moved down there.
Now, Mr. Rundy, you are going to explain to me, sir, why this accident was not your fault. Or please pay careful attention, because in case I missed something, I really want somebody to give me a poke to be able to say, you missed it, you know, you missed the important part.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're both all ears, Mr. Rundy.
I'm not trying to say that it's not my fault.
Well, that's what you said in the answer. You said, let me tell you what you said in the answer, Mr. Rundy,
Okay.
which caused me to do this torturing routine that I did for the last 5 minutes.
Right.
Alicia, the other 18-year-old idiot who was drinking that night with 4 guys, she's the reason why I had to go to jail. That's what you wrote here.
I didn't know.
And had to take classes for first-time offenders. Did you have to take classes for
Yes,
first-time
I did.
offenders? I was surprised to learn that Mr. Kelly is suing me. Alicia should pay her grandfather for the money he is asking. Mr. Kelly is suing the wrong person. That's what you wrote. So now what you're telling me is that was all a big mistake?
No, it's not a big mistake. I feel she should have some responsibility in her car. I know what I did was wrong, and I know that, but...
She wasn't in the car.
She gave me the keys to her car, though.
Yeah.
So where's the responsibility come in at?
How much do you weigh?
180.
You think that she could carry you, put you in the car, take your hand, put the key in the ignition,
I have
and
no
turn
idea.
it on? You don't think she could do that, do you?
No.
Only you could do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who poured your own alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one who put the glass to your lips and guzzled it down.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one that took you behind and put it behind the wheel of a car where you could have killed somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who's going to pay for Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, were you able to have the car fixed?
Yes, I was.
And how much did it cost you, Mr. Kelly?
Over $5,000.
You have the bill for it?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Kelly, your granddaughter, Alicia, I must tell you, I believe, did not act responsibly that evening. That doesn't mean that he's off the hook. That just means that if I were you, I wouldn't give her back the car.
I'm sorry.
Did you give her back the car?
Yes, after I got it fixed.
That was a big mistake. I wouldn't have given her back the car. She behaved irresponsibly. You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
Taking advantage of your grandfather. I wouldn't let you take advantage of me. I'll tell you that right now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Rundy, you better get busy and get back to Florida. Hurry up, hustle, get a job. Hustle, hustle.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn. Các bạn thân mến, bài học ngày hôm nay mình và các bạn sẽ cùng tiếp tục với chữ cái, đó là chữ cái ô. Và ngay sau đây mình và các bạn sẽ cùng vào tìm hiểu chữ cái, đó là chữ cái ô các bạn nhé. Đầu tiên, đây chính là chữ cái ô. Và dấu thanh đó là dấu nặng. Dấu nặng chúng ta viết bằng một dấu chấm. Bây giờ các bạn cùng đọc theo mình nhé. Ô, ô, ô. Dấu nặng, dấu nặng. Tiếp theo chúng ta sẽ vào phần 1, đó là phần nhận biết về chữ cái ô. Các bạn hãy quan sát ở đây. Đây chính là một con phố. Và bố và Hà đi bộ trên hè phố. Ở đây câu này Bố và Hà đi bộ trên hè phố. Trong câu này tiếng bố có chữ cái ô. Tiếp tục, tiếng bộ có chữ cái ô và dấu nặng. Tiếng phố có chữ cái ô. Vậy là trong câu này chúng ta đã nhận ra được chữ cái ô và dấu nặng. Tiếp theo chúng ta sẽ sang phần 2, đó là phần đọc. Các bạn hãy cùng đọc theo mình nhé. Ô, ô, ô. Bờ, ô. Bờ ô bô sắc bố. Bờ ô bô sắc bố. Bờ, ô. Bờ ô bô nặng bộ. Bờ ô bô nặng bộ. Tiếp tục, các bạn hãy đọc theo mình. Bờ ô bô sắc bố. Bờ ô hỏi bổ. Bờ ô nặng bộ. Cờ ô cô. Cờ ô hỏi cổ. Cờ ô nặng cộ. Và đây là hình ảnh bố, cô bé, cổ cò. Cổ cò. Tiếp tục chúng ta sẽ sang phần 3, đó là phần viết. Chúng ta sẽ cùng viết chữ ô, cổ, cò. Đầu tiên chúng ta sẽ viết chữ ô. Chữ ô viết giống như chữ O và thêm một cái mũ như thế này. Tiếp tục, cổ là chữ cờ kết hợp với chữ ô và dấu hỏi, chúng ta được cổ. Cò là chữ cờ kết hợp với chữ O, huyền, huyền cò, cổ cò. Tương tự như vậy, chúng ta sẽ viết tiếp tục chữ ô cho đến hết dòng. Đó. Các bạn thân mến, vậy là bài học ngày hôm nay chúng ta đã được học thêm một chữ cái, đó là chữ cái ô. Và ngoài ra chúng ta cũng đã được biết cách thực hành viết chữ cái ô. Và bài học của chúng ta đến đây là hết rồi. Các bạn đừng quên like video và đăng ký kênh nhé. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.